How about that Chevelle? This,
Heck,
this is the Outside Gate with Steve Hall on the L4 Media Network, where we talk US moto and anywhere the conversation goes. Here for a bit of bench racing today from Whiskey Throttle Media. Jeff Beaver, how are you?
great man. Just up working and enjoying a little bit of break from the series, but I'm working 7 days a week, 14 hours a day at a gold mine in Nevada. So kind of glad we were able to get this pod on today. I got tomorrow off, so if we can run as long as we want, man, I'm dialed.
Nice, man. Nice. Well, it's Friday afternoon here for me, man. I'm definitely not picking any tools up after we do this. So yeah, it's a bit the same for me, man. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it. That's it. Cool, man. Hey, I thought just for the start of the show, there's just a few topics about season 24 that I'd like to just get your take on before we start talking about your motorcycling life. Um, One thing that I've been talking to a few people about and different opinions and stuff, like it's all pretty obvious that that Chase has hit his straps with Jet out of the way, and maybe that's a mental thing and that's been talked about a lot. But I also feel that, and what I'd love your take on is, do you think Hunter, is it all the Redbud crash, or did you reckon that Jet gave him a little bit of a toe? You know, like this is the line to take, that sort of thing. You reckon that there's a bit of a toe factor there when Jet's there with Hunter?
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of that. We've talked about it on our pod and the pod I do with Ed at Live. When you're at that level, any little thing can kind of throw off your program. So, how many years have those two guys gone and gone to the races together? Pre-game bench raced about what they were doing on the track. Like, hey, check out this line right there. Blah blah. They were both in the same class, same bike. Blah blah blah. They're both their mechanics share the same brain. Their mechanics are two of the funniest dudes you'll ever meet. If you ever come to America, just go find Cameron and Christian. They're freaking hilarious. But they're all just like a bunch of bros who just kick ass, right? And so you moved a huge part of that equation out. And so, in my opinion, that really probably screwed Hunter up, right? And then you factor in that, yeah, he rearranged his marbles when he hit his head there. I don't care what anybody says, dude, that was a smack. And now he's doing some blood testing. God hope it's, somebody was saying it was that Epstein Barr. God hope that's only it. I mean, who knows what blood testing can reveal? Hopefully it's just something like that that's treatable and he's good. And I'm sure he's got a little fog on the brain, but I personally think that his whole system got thrown out of whack when Jet wasn't there. And I think you would probably see a little bit of the same thing if Hunter would have got hurt and was out for Jetson. I mean, the two
Mm.
of those
Yeah,
guys, they've been in the trenches so long together. They are so close, and not their travel routines messed up, their race day routines messed up, even going to dinner and all that stuff. Just all that stuff that makes their family click. And I've seen it them at the airport together a million times, at the track before press day. They're just a cohesive unit, right? And
yeah.
so you take any part of that equation out there and it's got to affect it, especially when you're operating at the highest level in the world, right? So that's my take on it. Is, yeah, I think it's twofold. I think he knocked his head pretty good, and I just think not having his brother there is probably throwing him off.
Yeah, cool, cool. No, it's interesting to hear you say that. Yeah, because it's probably the side of it that hasn't been talked about as much. There's a lot talked about. Chase has got sort of it's given Chase extra belief, I guess. As much as he can't admit that, but it's I think it's kind of easy to see, and it's no disrespect to him. Chase is a bad fucker, like, but it's just
Yeah.
that Jet's a little bit better. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's
Jets on his A game. Jets on his A game. And just to touch on Chase a little bit, Chase was on a trajectory to start running with Jet. I
yeah,
don't think Jet's going to be unbeatable forever. It's just like when Bubba was out there or when RC was out there and Reed came in, right? You Aussies come in and just tend to screw everything up for us. We're on a roll here in America, and then here comes this Australian dude just kicks the shit out of everybody. But um, I think with the switch from Honda, was probably good. Bred some new life. Yeah, they had a lot to work to do on that bike, but I think they kind of got it dialed with that new bike. You could see it in Chase's riding. The front end was kind of a thing of the past, and he was battling hard with Jet, and a lot of people, oh, blah blah blah. The points. Hey, Jet wasn't the points leader. They were tied when he went out.
Mm.
Technicality. I'm splitting hairs because I'm the American over here, but I think it would have been some really great racing. And the scary thing to me is when Jet comes back, I think he's going to be rejuvenated.
Yeah.
He's been grinding for what, 8 titles in a row.
Mm.
And he's off hanging out with his girl and playing. He's in Southern California right now doing his rehab, and I think when that guy comes back, he's going to have a chip on his shoulder, and
Yeah.
that's scary because
Yeah,
that dude's
no,
a
it is.
bad man.
It is, but he'll also meet Chase, a Chase that's just full of confidence as well. So
Yeah,
it's pretty
we're going to
cool,
have
you know.
this.
Yeah,
We're going to have
yeah.
one of these.
I hope
Yeah.
so, man. Even though I'm an Aussie, man, like I want, first and foremost, I want good racing. You know,
Yep.
the only time I'm really patriotic about the fact that the Lawrences are Australian is Motocross of Nations, because that's when they're actually riding for Australia.
Yeah.
At the moment, they're riding for Honda, and so they're not riding for Australia. They just happen to be Australian. So while it's
Yeah, I'm the
cool,
same way.
yeah, while it's cool, like it's a cool thing. I'm more interested in good racing rather than the fact that they are Australians, which is not always a popular take amongst Australians, because a lot of the Aussies are just like zoned in, like it's all about the Lawrences. But
Yeah,
yeah,
to
yeah,
me, I think we're all bros and it's just moto, and I love moto. But yeah, when it comes to Motocross the Nations, there's only 3 people I care about on that track, right?
yeah,
Everybody
yeah.
else is second in my mind, right?
And that's
You
the way
know,
it should be, for sure. That's when you wear your colours. That's when like that's that weekend, and
Yeah, and if they were in America and they wanted to fly the Aussie flag when they won, that wouldn't bother me one bit, dude. I know some
yeah,
people piss and moan in this country about that stuff, and bullshit. If you win, fly your colors, dude. Fly them proud.
yeah. If you win the event or whatever, it's just like
Yeah,
at the whatever country the Olympics is in, and the nations is the Olympics in motocross, man. So
yeah,
whoever wins, their flag goes up, So
yeah.
it's all good, man. Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny, man. Like, 'cause for years growing up, I pretty much you know, I wanted the Americans to win because we were never even a chance. Like we might have had one rider that you hoped a good result for, or maybe two riders you hoped a good result for, but it wasn't really until we got that team of had Chad and Burner and Mossy, and that was a team that if everything went right, we could have possibly won. But then there's been a lot of years where we've had one really good or two really good riders, but having two brothers, like bang, two brothers is straight away that are two of the fastest guys in the world. And then I think
Who's your
this
MX3
year,
guy?
I think pretty sure Kyle Webster's locked in, who is
Yeah,
he's the guy who came over and did a couple of nationals and that sort of thing.
yeah.
He's
I
leading,
met him.
yeah.
He's a ripper. He's a cool guy. He's registering for that. It's like part of the Phoenix Honda team, kind of the Australian.
Or Firepower Honda, yeah. So
Yeah,
same
or
thing,
yeah,
yeah,
Firepower. That's right. Yeah, the Firepower team. Yeah, dude, that guy was cool as hell, man. He was a ripper.
yeah. Well, that team is basically that's the factory Honda team in Australia. So
Yeah,
so
yeah.
yeah,
No,
yeah,
that's a strong team. The Lawrence brothers and that guy.
yeah,
We got our work cut out for us.
yeah. And he was super dominant. It's a few years now, but when he left the 250 class, like outdoors 250, he was super dominant, like just killing everyone. Um, and now this is his third year, I think, in the 450s, and he's winning the championship now. Only just, it's a good tight battle between him and Jed Beaton. So him or Jed, either one, I would have been super happy to have the third spot. Toss a coin, either one, be great. So
Yeah, I've
um,
heard of that Jed guy with my conversations with Ed. He said he's a pretty fast Aussie too.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Now that they're having some good battles, they're definitely the class of the field at the moment down here. So yeah, that is pretty cool, man. Cool. Hey, who else do you reckon? Who else is going to get an overall this year? I only got a few rounds to go. Who's the most likely to get an overall? Is it like Ando or AP or?
AP Anderson, and I'm not counting out Justin Cooper, dude. That guy.
Yeah.
He's had a great season so far, and he has it in him. I mean, look at Thunder Valley. He just didn't have it in the tank for the full moto, but he's got the skills, and I wouldn't be surprised if somehow he worked in a moto win or an overall. AP definitely. I mean, look how he rode at Washougal. Man, that place, it went off, man. Dude, it sounded like, the ball drop at New Year's Eve in Times Square when he came around that corner and you got the whole shot. It was pretty awesome to see in person. Anytime AP does anything, the crowd goes nuts. But when he gets a whole shot in a 450 moto, it's game time in America.
Yeah, yeah, no, I love AP. Love him. Yeah, like, how could you not, But yeah,
Yeah.
I agree, man. Any of those three, I wouldn't be surprised if they got it done. But yeah, I reckon I got a feeling about Anderson though. Got a feeling about Anderson
And
putting it
outdoors
together.
isn't his strong suit, but
Yeah.
he just, when he's feeling it, dude, that dude's
Yep.
dangerous.
Yeah, I reckon I can just see one of the next few rounds, he is just feeling it, and he's out there just like surfing like he does, and he's just gets that shirt out and gets untucked and just makes it happen one time. Sometimes when those guys that are third, fourth, fifth guys do get it overall, sometimes it's because something happened to the 1-2 guys, But that's part of
Yeah.
the sport. So yeah, that's cool, man. Tom Vial, this interesting that you take on there. I'm disappointed, man. To be honest, Tom, I thought
So
he was going to be
Supercross,
the guy.
yeah,
For outdoors, the outdoors, yeah.
yeah, Supercross, yeah, super stoked. But I was kind of shocked that he hasn't really been the dominant guy, a two-time world champion.
Mm.
And I think that speaks volumes to just how freaking gnarly Hayden is.
Yeah, that's
And
right.
I kind of think, my personal opinion is, I think the head game's kind of got to him a little bit. He doesn't seem like, he snuck it in on them at Colorado, and Hayden said that was cute, and um, I just don't know if he's ever battled anybody like Hayden, as brash as he is. I don't know what his experience was in MXGPs with those guys, or if there was a guy over there that was that polarizing like Hayden is, right? But he's definitely got all the skill in the world. He was riding with a hurt wrist at Washougal, but I'm just kind of bummed that he didn't do better. Yeah, I thought he was going to be the guy to beat, and Hayden just been head and shoulders above everybody.
Yeah, yeah. I picked Tom to win the outdoors. I thought, yeah, this is their second year. He knows the tracks this year. He's a two-time world champion. I mean that series, like that, the amount of races, it's like with these qualifying races and that. Now I'm not sure if they did them when he was there, but even without the qualifying races, man, it's like 40 races. Like I actually did some stats to show someone. I think it was to show DB the the amount of title fight races that guy had already been in before it came down to the Supercross title fight, and the
Yeah.
experience that he had in high pressure title fight situations compared to who he was competing against was just like massive. So but yeah, so you wouldn't think that any sort of pressure would get to that kid, but yeah, I don't know what
Yeah,
it is,
yeah, I
but
don't know.
yeah,
I just think this one's something he's never dealt with. To me, honestly, that's kind of the feeling I get. But you never know. He's one get off away from being the points leader.
that's right, yeah, too, and that's actually another thing that's been topic that's been coming up lately is like you know does Deegs keeps hitting the ground hard, man, and he bounces up like a cat, and it's,
That's
it's
exactly
fucking
what it is.
impressive, man. It's amazing. But dude, like you can only do that so many times before you don't get up quick, and you hurt yourself, and
Well, one
that'd be devastating. But yeah, that's the way you
one thing
ride.
I caught behind the podium at Washougal on after the first moto was his bike. He was saying that if you go on Whiskey Throttle, you'll see a little edit I did, talking to his dad, and he said, "Man, the back end's just kind of sketchy." And he goes, "I was putting on a charge, but just nah." And he was smart enough to say, hey, today this moto ain't the day. Let's go back, have Duff fix the bike. And I posted, I was like, dude, yeah, he's going to come out swinging in Moto 2. And what did he do? He had a
Mm,
10-second lead all day. And then I think Vial kind of just went, well, no
yeah.
point hitting the ground right now. And stretched out to 18 seconds. But he was a solid 10 seconds the whole Moto.
Mm,
And so he was smart. Instead of having to win and shoving that Yamaha down Vial's throat, he settled for second, knowing that two's as good as a one in the first Moto.
yeah.
He was smart about it and showed some maturity. So hopefully he does that, because you're right. He's going to hit the ground one day and not get up. I mean,
Yeah.
dude's just look at what he did his first race at Ironman. I was standing right there when he did that, and I was like, oh. I mean, the fact that he went through it, I was like, yeah. And then he hit the ground. I was like, oh shit,
Yeah.
And he got up from that. I was like, dude, no way. So the guy,
Yeah.
if he's like a cat, he's used like 4 or 5 of his 9
Yeah.
lives. He needs to
That's right.
chill.
There's
He's got
only
a lot
so
to
many
do.
lives he's got, because it's just like, it's incredible, man. Like the presence of mind to land the way he does and get up that quick is incredible, man. Just
Well,
incredible. Like,
one of the things, if you followed him, and I followed his YouTube channel just from when he was a very little kid, from the first episode they ever did, and a couple of the things that Hayden did that were you you kind of see it in that stuff is how much time that kid spent on a trampoline. And
really?
if you think about how much time he spent on the trampoline and having presence of where he was in the air, you know, uh, that probably helps him a little bit. A lot of the
Mm.
BMX, a lot of the scooter riding, everybody kind of gave him crap about riding the scooters, but doing the flips and all that kind of stuff. And he always dabbled in a lot of other things. And so, you know, it's almost kind of like he knows where he's at in the air, like a cat. He's going to land on his feet, but
Yeah.
that only goes so many times. But he's just got so many boxes checked. It was like Brian wrote out a list one night when he was a little kid. Okay, we got to check that box, and that's what they've done. And they've just built and built, and running around with Caleb Tennant and training with those guys, training with Ferrandis when he would come around, just all the different places, going to Tomax, going to train with Roxon, playing on the trampoline as a kid, just having no fear. And yeah, I think a lot of that adds up to bike skills and balls.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm a fan, man. It's impressive. Like I'm a fan about the like everyone. There's the occasional things he says, and I'm like, oh fuck, man. Like, don't say that. But even that makes me laugh, man. It's funny. It's funny to me because of the reaction, and it's cringy, and then it's the funny comments that lead from it, the reactions of other people and all that. Like it's entertaining, man. I think it's cool. I'm
Yeah, my
very much
favorite one
I'm
was
here
when he
for it,
said, "Oh,
man.
he
I'm here
snuck it
for it.
in," and that was cute. That was my
That's-
favorite one.
oh
I was
man,
on,
I
that's
was on the
shit
couch
talking right
just
there.
I was on the couch just killing myself laughing when he said that. Like, oh, every time he gets the microphone, man, I'm like waiting, like, what's he gonna say this time?
I've got to sit at the
So,
back of the press tent, because if I start howling, dude, I'm gonna overtake all of them laughing my ass off. So there's been a
yeah,
couple times where don't get kicked out of here, Jeff.
yeah, yeah.
But
No,
the
I
kid's
would
hell
do
on
the same,
wheels.
man. Yeah, he is, man. And it's I think there's definitely a with some of the other 250 guys, there's a little bit of a bully factor there. I think they're a little bit scared of him. I think that some of the other guys, and they're also scared of him, and they're scared of his fans a little bit too. I think, man. Like
Fans are gnarly, dude.
his fans are gnarly. Like if imagine if Chance comes back and is like fucking righto, and really does stick it in on him, like he's gonna have to turn his phone off for a month because he's just
Then
gonna get
he's
punished.
gonna need the Poke Mobile to get out of the damn track. He's gonna need
That's
some
right.
bulletproof shit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. He's gonna need the security detail, isn't he? That's
Dude,
it,
I
man.
see it on Whiskey Throttle. I was a fan of Hayden long ago, right? So I don't care. I'm gonna post what I want, make reels, rad shit, and I'm all about badass shit. If you're doing cool shit, I'm gonna post it. And I like blue collar guys, that I'll post their stuff. The guys who kind of cool guy, you don't see me post a lot on them, but
Yeah,
Hayden, I'm a big fan, so I post a lot of shit, and I've had some comments where people said I'm, fanboy and hating. I'm like, no, he just does rad shit. Show me somebody else doing something that rad, and I'll post it too. And I do, right? But when those people make those comments on our post, you should see the Tegan fans get in there and just devour them. I'm like, I don't even have to say nothing. I'm like, oh, you just screwed up, bro.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
just,
No,
you're gonna
I've
catch
seen the
one right
same.
now.
I've seen the same thing, man. Like I'm a big main event moto fan, and I see it in comments and that sort of thing on things that DB posts and things that Joe posts and that sort of thing.
Dude,
And
I love that
it's funny,
show.
yeah. So
I
yeah,
I I love that show, dude. Those guys are funny, and Joe's my spirit animal, dude. That guy's a grumpy old prick at like
yeah,
40 years old, you know?
yeah, yeah. No, I love those guys, man. Like they've been a massive help to me in more ways than they can imagine. So yeah, it's a
Well, the cool
great
thing
show.
is they're not haters, dude. They're
Yeah,
they're just cool, man. Like, hey, whatever you want, whatever you need help with.
yeah, man, yeah. And then and Whiskey Throttle, man. I'm actually fairly new to Whiskey Throttle. Like I remember years ago. I say years. It's probably only like 3 or 4 years. I I listened to a few episodes, and I don't know who it was back then, but it wasn't Ping, and it wasn't someone that I sort of recognized at the time. And the first couple of things I listened to, I was like, oh, that's all right, but it didn't sort of really grab me. And there's so many to watch. But then I don't know. Do you remember who was that? Like like four
Well,
or 5
there
years
was
ago.
another thing. There was another thing called Whiskey Throttle or something like that, and then Pink started Whiskey Throttle Media when he left Vital, but he started the Whiskey Throttle show. Um, when he was still with Racer X. And
Ah,
so that was in January of 2018, he started the Whiskey Throttle show. So it was always him, GL, and then Donnie was the
okay.
producer.
I reckon it might have been a completely different show then that I was listening to because I remember,
It was a
I
radio
saw,
podcast, Whiskey Throttle. Yeah, it was some
yeah,
Whiskey Throttle radio podcast. I don't know what happened, but Ping chose Whiskey Throttle and we ran with it. And
yeah,
it
yeah,
is what
because
it
it
is.
was I was expecting GL and Ping, and I was like, oh, who's this guy? Like, I don't know what's going on here.
Yeah, no, the Whiskey Throttle show has always been Ping, and then GL was in it, and Donnie, and then GL kind of stepped away because he had to take over the dealership he's got over in
Yeah,
Paris from his dad, and
yeah,
his dad was retiring, so it kind of went that way. But Ping's killing it, dude. I mean, I
yeah,
love the show, man. I mean, our first show was Roger DeCoster.
yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Pretty
well,
good one.
I actually got told only, oh well, it's probably a year or so ago, I guess. Someone said to me, "You got to listen to Kenny Watson's interview with Ping," and I was like, and they were like, "You got to listen to this; it's fucking amazing." And I was like, "Yeah, cool." And I was driving home from a race. I still try and do 1 or 2 races a year. And I was driving home all sore from a race, and so yeah, let's listen to Kenny Watson. And it was fucking amazing, man. I was like, blew my fucking mind. Like, it would anyone that was listening to it. But I also thought like, Ping is a fucking great interviewer, man. Like,
He's
he's a
one of the best there
great
ever was,
interviewer,
dude.
man. I reckon, honestly, I'd say he is the best.
Yep.
And I've been listening to everything you guys do sort of since then. And
Yeah.
yeah, I really like all the content that's coming out. But man, yeah, Ping's long form interviews with some of the guys, with any of the guys, like I reckon maybe my favorite podcast I've ever listened to was Ping and Wardy. That was
Yeah.
amazing,
He's a
man.
great
Like,
one.
that's
Yeah.
probably the best thing I've ever listened to. That was just
That was one
amazing.
of Ping's bucket list shows, dude. I mean, that was his
Yeah,
idol growing up. They're both the same height, so
yeah.
Ping wanted to look like him. He had the little Kawasaki get up when he was a little kid. He was a little Jeff Ward Jr.
Yeah, oh, it was great, man. It was great, and like such a good story, and yeah, Ping's interview style is just it's wicked, man. It really
The
is. Yeah,
dude's sharp, dude. He's so freaking smart. It pisses me off because he'll just call me and be like, "Hey, meathead, check your grammar on your post." I'm like, but he's funny as hell. One of the coolest dudes you will ever meet if you meet him in person, dude. Just cool. Just a cool dude.
yeah, man. Awesome. Hey, man. We might get into a bit of your life, man. Um, dude. The my favorite question that I ask on just about every show is when did the bug bite you, the motorcycling bug? You know, when did you first saw a peewee in a shop, or
Dude,
you
I
saw a
remember the
race on
day.
TV? Yeah, tell me about that. I
So
love
I
it.
remember the day. It wasn't a race. It was my dad. We went over to his buddy Fred White's house, and in the backyard was a '76 CR 250 Elsinore, and it was just sitting there over off to the side. And my dad asked Fred if he wanted to sell it. Well, my dad grew up in Corona, California. He grew up a Southern California kid, riding around in the orange groves. You know, they rode all those hills and out in the riverbed out there, Norco area when he was a kid, and then he moved to Northern California. And I grew up in the Napa Valley wine country up in Napa. Not a bastion for moto, but we had 5 acres where I grew up, right? And so my dad bought this Elsinore from his buddy Fred, and I was like, 5. So my dad brought it home, cleaned the points, put some fresh gas, cleaned the carb, and fired it up. And we went for a ride. And I was sitting on the gas tank, and my dad ripped a wheelie down the street with me on the bike, and that was it, dude. I had to have a bike. So I think the first bike I had was one of those Briggs and Stratton powered mini bikes. Uh, promptly ran that into the pump house and smashed it all to hell and got my first concussion at like 6, and then just had bikes and off-road go-karts and all kinds of stuff out there, and just kind of did that kind of riding. My brother had riding. We just go riding out in the fields. And then my brother, I remember, had a Rick Johnson poster in his bedroom when I was a little kid, and I was like, "Who's that?" And he'd show me, and then my dad would always take us to the Yamaha shop in Napa, and we'd go by there, and I would beg him for a little YZ, and he's like, "I ain't buying that crap for you." There was no racing around there. He's not going to spend that kind of money. My dad was cheap, right? I got some
Mm.
hand me down used shit, but so I would just start falling. Just kind of wherever I could. If I'd be in the grocery store with my mom, I'd go through the magazines and stuff, and she'd just leave me there and go shop. It was great for her because I wasn't getting in trouble. I was standing at the magazine rack reading, MXA or something like that, right? And then we got satellite TV. So I'm 48 now. So when we got satellite, it was like that big satellite that NASA uses to look at Mars now or whatever. That's what it was like to
Yeah,
get TV channels. But
yeah.
back in like 1984, that was the shit, and it was when ESPN first came out and they started airing stuff. Well, I think the first race I ever really remember seeing was some clips from Anaheim '86 when I was about 10, and the USGP that in '87 or whatever. Those are like the first ones I really remember watching and sticking to. And then it was like I knew kind of like at like 1 in the morning on Saturdays that ESPN would play moto. So I would just have it playing in the background and be half asleep, and then motocross come on, bam, I'm up, right? And so watch it, and then just more and more and more. And then through my teenage years, kind of went away from it. And then when I was 16, a couple of my buddies were like, "Hey, what are you doing tonight?" I'm like, "I don't know, squashing my nuts. I have no clue." "Come on, we're going to San Jose for the Supercross." So it was the '92 San Jose Supercross. So that was the first race I ever went to when I was 16. And I saw McGrath on a pro circuit 125, Bale, Chicken, Bradshaw, everybody, Stanton. And I'm like, dude, this is the greatest thing ever, and I've been following it since then pretty hardcore.
Nice, man. Nice. What about your own riding, like, man? Have you done much? Did you do some racing yourself, or?
Nope. The only thing I ever raced for was the front of the hot dog cart line, and being a big boy, I'll knock you on your ass. I'll brothers racing when it's in line for a hot dog, but no, I never raced. Never did any of that. Right? I can ride a dirt bike, but I have a couple of pretty badass bikes. But I broke my back in '98, and so after that, it was like I actually started riding more than I ever did then, but jumping and track days, like I would go to the track and I had these oh shit moments, and I'm like, I have no business doing that. The way I grew up was riding single track trails in Northern California, and so that's what I did and what I do, and I still go to the track with Ping and them. They're like, "You going out?" I'm like, "No, I got no business out there, right?" I like wrenching on the bikes and doing bike builds and stuff like that, but um, I have a dual sport KTM that I'm actually going to take tomorrow and do a desert ride out here in Nevada. And I took that out on a grass track with Ping and them in Temecula a couple years ago, and it was like hopping on a fat chick and hold on for dear life, right? And reminded me of my 20s coming home from the bar. But yeah, anyway, that's a story we don't have to really get into. But my wife surprised me a couple of weeks later with a 22 KTM 250SX, and God bless her, she got the carbureted kickstart model, the last of the real
Yeah.
two strokes KTM made. And so we built that out and made a badass edit. But when we go to the grass tracks, yeah, I have a field day on there, but like hitting tracks and jumping like that and racing, I'm pretty much as slow as molasses flowing in February. I just, it ain't happening. But, they all talk shit to me and all that stuff. And I tell them, hey, we're going to get off the bike when we get back to the pit. And so you might want to watch how much chirping you do. We get off the bike. Now I'm in charge, and they're kind of like, hey, right. So, but no,
Yeah,
I just
man.
have a blast, dude. Any day I can get on the bike and just go ride around. I don't care if I'm the slowest dude out there, and riding with a bunch of legends, it's kind of intimidating. But the cool thing is none of them are dicks about it. They're
Yeah.
just like, come on, dude, you can do it. And I'm like, no, I can't. No, I'm not willing to. I got to go to work on Monday, but
Yeah.
it's a blast, dude. And if it has knobbies and a muffler on it, I'm in.
Yeah, man. Yeah, no, I'm much the same, man. Like I but as far as I'm slow, man. I'm old and slow, but I love riding though, man. Like just I love it. I
Freedom.
would if I didn't have to work, man, I would probably ride every day. Like that's how much I love it. And any sort of riding, I love moto, off road, you know, whatever. It's all any good as long as I'm not into street bikes or anything like that much, like at all. Really, it doesn't do it for me.
Yeah.
But if it's got man, yeah, if it's got knobby tires on it, I'm there. That's
Yeah,
basically the
flat track, speedway racing. I love that stuff.
yeah,
Just I
yeah. There's
just
got
if
to
it's
be
on the
dirt.
dirt, I love it. I
Yeah, there's got to
respect
be
the
dirt.
MotoGP and all that. I like it, and I'd go watch a race. And we used to when the AMA was really cranking in the early 2000s in America. We would go over to Sears Point. That was about 20 miles from Napa. We'd go watch those races, and they were fun. But it's like they're not slamming into each other. They're not jumping anything. And it's kind of like, okay, you dragged your elbow, cool. You
Yeah,
dragged your
like
elbow again. I mean, the
yeah,
speed was the only thing that was really cool about it.
yeah. I respect it, and like it's really cool. Like but it's just doesn't do it for me. Like
No,
doesn't do it for me. I've got some of my best mates my age. They got adventure bikes, and they like, you got to get an adventure bike, man, and all that. And I'm like, yeah, but if I can, and adventure bikes, they'll ride sort of mostly on the road, man, road or maybe a dirt road and that sort of thing, and that sort of thing. But man, I'll like while I can still do a little bit of moto and a little bit of single track and stuff like that, man, like that's what I'll do. When my body finally says, dude, you can't do this anymore, that's when I'll get
yeah,
the adventure bike. But, because I'd get bored going down the road, man. Like, I'd be looking for a side road or, like,
yeah. Get yourself in trouble mode.
you know, like,
I think my favorite bike I've ever had was a '05 Honda 450X. I dialed that thing in pretty good. God, that bike was fun. That's probably the best. That was the peak of my riding ability. Like that was the best I ever rode. I would have been like a C class novice off road rider or something like that. I guess is what I could get down and I could keep up with everybody. I wasn't going to light the world on fire, but I was moving, and that bike just gelled with me. And if I ever find one that's in decent shape, I'm going to buy it and build it out exactly as I had my old one. And I love that bike. But right now I have that 252 stroke that I do grass track riding with, and then I've got a 22 500 EXCF that is just built, dude. Ping makes fun of me because I'm like the stereotypical vet guy, dude.
yeah,
I
you got
got a
all the
little bit of
anodized,
money to burn, so
anodized
I
parts
just
there.
everything is on that shit. I'm like, yeah, I look at my garage. But Jamie from Twisted Development did the ECU for that, one of the Vortex ECUs with his mapping, and then it's got the I was the first one he gave the map switch to, so I can switch through maps, but I've also got traction control and quick shift on that thing.
Mm.
Dude, that thing's a blast. We went last summer after Washougal, me and a couple buddies, we all went kind of trail riding, and basically mellow fire road riding up through Mount St. Helens to the National Monument where the volcano blew. For people in Australia, if you ever come over to the Pacific Northwest, go see it. I mean, it's just amazing when you see what that mountain did. But one of the things that was pretty cool is on one of those logging roads, everybody was on 450s, and I just walked past them, and I remember looking down at the speedometer, and I was doing 106 down a fire road. And everybody says riding a fire road is not that fun. Well, go 106 down a fire road. It gets real narrow.
Yeah.
It's real
Yeah.
exciting, real quick when you're at those speeds. But that thing's just an absolute blast, and Ping did a thing on it, and he's like, "Dude, you could moto that bike." And I'm like, "Well, you can moto that bike. I'm not." But it's just kind of a do everything. She's kind of a big fat girl. She's got a lot of power, and she's a little bit on the heavy side. But boy, if you need to grab a handful and get through something, it's I weigh 265, and it's like I'm not even on the thing. So that's kind of my riding style and what I do. And I only get to ride a couple times a year with my work and then all the motocross races and supercross. But when I do, I just go have fun, and I'm grateful I can do it.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that's good. I love it, man. Anytime someone's getting out on a motorcycle, man, it's freedom, man. That's it. I've had a few of the legends I've had on in recent times. There's been some really cool things they've actually said on that subject about um, that first. I remember who was it? It was Jeff Emig Fro when Fro was on. He said about when he was first a kid and he'd go out into the desert with his dad and that sort of thing, and he'd get on his mini bike, and it was just like freedom, like wow,
Yeah.
this is so cool, man, so cool, and that is right. That's the feeling you get. You can be having the shittiest day, shittiest week at work, everything's fucked at home, whatever. And you go out, and when you let that clutch out, man, none of that shit matters. It's
Yeah,
all,
exactly.
it's
Yeah.
therapy, man. It's great stuff, man. I love it.
It's,
I love it, man. Just reminded me when I mentioned my couple of best mates that are into adventure bikes, man. They're also gold miners, man. So tell us a bit about your day job, man. Yeah. So
so
about the gold mining, man.
yeah, I'm a technical consultant in the oil and mining industry. Work all over the world. Any of you out down in Australia work in the mining industry, need a refractory guy, I got you covered. But so I work on anything brick lined, gunite line. Like when you see them shoot a swimming pool, that's a gunite method where they apply. I work on high temperature, acid, and erosion resistant type of concretes is kind of the layman term. That's my area of expertise. My dad was in it, and so I started out working oil refineries, and I've been working in the gold mines in Nevada and the Dominican Republic now for about 17 years as a contractor. So I go do turnarounds and work on autoclaves and roasters in the mining industry and cat crackers and sulfur recovery stuff in refineries and uh, part of the API where we set all the standards, which pretty much everybody in the world uses. And I actually championed the new standard that is pretty much going to be worldwide for inspecting refractory linings. I wrote the rough draft body of knowledge, and so that's kind of my career path. I got real lucky that my old man was into it. School was not my thing. I got expelled my junior year. Somehow calling my way back in my senior year, got expelled again. It just wasn't my thing. Does not play well with others should have been my T-shirt that I wore to school every day. And what's funny is I get along with everybody now, but when I was a teenager, I couldn't stand school. I didn't want nothing to do with it. And my dad said, "Well, if you're gonna be dumb, you better be tough." So I started working 712s and screwing off and partying too much. But it finally all came together, and I got into the career I'm in now. And but the mining part of it's great. I'm up in northern Nevada, which is pretty much the biggest gold complex in the world. It's up there with anything that you would find in Australia or anywhere in China or anything like that. But yeah, just I love the gold mining, man. You look at all those trucks in the pits, and I just start thinking of crusty demons of dirt when they're jumping off the trucks and jumping out of the dirt or the gold trucks. And those trucks in those videos are absolutely tiny. They would fit in the bed of the haul trucks that are, you know, out there now. In fact, last night I saw a post that Tom Parsons and Jared McNeil and all of them were at Caterpillar, and they're standing next to a mock-up of one of those trucks. And I sent Tom a message, met him recently, and I was like, shit, man, I'm around those things all day. So I think I'm going to go out when I go back to work on Saturday and take pictures of like the pit and some of the trucks and stuff and send them to Tom and Jared and kind of show them what that stuff's like out in the real world out there. But yeah, it's amazing what they do. They move mountains, dude.
Mm. Yeah. It's it is interesting, man. Like I said, my two best mates, they that's what they do. One of them, he's a big guy, big fella like yourself, and his gig was running the big drill. He's the big drill guy. That you got to be a big
so
boy
he's
to
running
do
the
it.
Pit Vipers.
Yeah, he's one of the guys. Yeah, he's on the big drill, basically drilling the big holes that they put the explosives in. So
Oh,
yeah,
so he's doing the blast patterns. Yeah, dude. That's one
yeah,
thing in all my career. I've never seen him do a shot, but dude, that would be so fun. But yeah, he's probably running on a Pit Viper. It's just a big kind of track drill, and they go around and set a pattern, drill it to certain depths, fill it with ammo. That's what they use up here, and
yeah.
pack it and blow it. But it's amazing what they do. I mean, you'll have fly rock coming a half mile away if you're not careful. If one gets away, so yeah, you don't go anywhere near the pit when that thing blows. And we'll be at work on the structure, and you hear this bomb, and you just see this cloud of dust come up over the horizon from the pit, and you're like, okay, there was a blast, cool. Nothing flew over here, but yeah, it's just amazing, dude. The guys who do that kind of crap, they're tougher than a $2 steak, dude. Badasses.
Yeah. Well, this particular guy, man, yeah, he's a character. The list of jobs he's had is like he's one of these guys he could never have a normal job. Like he's been a deep sea diver welder, so he would dive oil rigs to do welding repairs underwater. That was one of his jobs. He was a airborne. He was a paratrooper in the army. What else? And
That
yeah,
dude's gnarly.
the gold miner drill guy, and I'm forgetting another one, but yeah, it's crazy.
The gold mining and drilling sounds like the most mellow thing. Like you
Yeah,
mellow it out. It's like,
probably
okay, I'm
is,
just
man.
gonna do semi gnarly. Yeah, that guy's
Probably
crazy.
is, man. Yeah, he's a unit, that's for sure, man. Yeah,
I
there's
did
lot of
I did
stories
the
about that
most
guy.
I did the most remote offshore oil uh, processing platform in the world. It's called the Perdido Spar. Shell owns it, and it's actually in the Gulf of Mexico. It's 200 miles south of Texas. And I think my favorite part of doing that was doing the Hewitt training, which is helicopter underwater egress training, where you go into the building and they flip you upside down in a Huey helicopter cabin. You have to escape out of the helicopter underwater and get into a life raft. Dude, all that stuff was cool, but that was a trip flying out 200 miles into the Gulf of Mexico. You're only like 1,000 foot off the deck, and then all of a sudden just stops hovering out in the middle of nowhere. Starts going down. You see an oil derrick come up, and then you're just on this little floating city in the middle of the ocean for. I was out there like 10 days and working on a waste heat boiler, and yeah, it's just amazing what those guys do. And they had all the welders were there, the guys working on the rig, the captain of the ship, the cooks, everybody. It's just this little condensed city. Everybody kind of is on. It's just a trip. All those guys who do that, I got a lot of respect for those dudes too, man. I couldn't do it. I did it once, and I'm like, cool, man. I checked that box. I'm good.
Yeah, that's right, man. Yeah, it still makes no sense to me, man, how they weld underwater. He explained it to me once. I was probably drunk. We're probably both drunk. But yeah, it still makes no sense. Like,
Yeah,
how that works. Yeah, because the
yeah.
electrical current, and you're in salt water. So anyway,
And you're at the
yeah,
bottom of the food chain. That's the thing that
yeah,
would get me. It's not the electrical and the wall.
yeah.
They got all that figured out, dude. It's what's going. That fat boy looks tasty.
Yeah, well, that's what he I remember him saying the sharks hate the welding the I don't know, is it even sparks? The flash of the welding and all that, like they piss right off when so if you're not
no,
welding and you
that's
see
good.
one, because he didn't really like the sharks. And if you're not welding and you see one, like you just get the welder going and they piss off. So
They're all
that's
inspecting it. There's all these arc strikes off the side of the vessel. Man, there's a lot of sharks
that's
through
right.
the inspection, dude. Yeah.
That's it, man. Yeah. Hey, have you come across Ty Rayfield, he's a suspension tech for Club MX? Have you come across him? He's a gold
Yeah,
miner as
kind of gray
well.
haired guy. Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, he's from Australia, right?
Ty, yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I
yeah.
haven't met him personally, but I
He
know of
got me
him.
in trouble this weekend.
Did he?
Yeah, because I'm buddies with Jet Reynolds. I just
Yes.
like that kid. He reminds me of me when I was a kid. I was a little hell on wheels guy. That kid is so cool, dude. It just I wish I could record and put on the internet the shit that comes out of our mouths because people be like, but it's just pure comedy, right? I get along with it's like a little brother, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, where's Jet? He goes, oh, he's up in the truck, man. I go, okay. And he goes, go up there and see him, and you typically don't go in the truck as a media guy. And he goes, you'll be fine. Go up there. So I'm up there shooting the shit, and Phil's kind of getting ready. And, I don't go up there, but he says, okay, go up there. And I'm bullshitting with Jet, and I feel a slap on my leg. And Mike's like, hey, out. I'm like, gosh, shit. Thanks, bro. You got me in trouble. He's like, whatever,
Yeah, well,
But yeah, no, he's a good dude.
Ty, before he headed over to work for Club MX, he had his own suspension company here.
Yeah.
But his day job was the same gold mine where my best mates work. So
I
it's a
didn't know he's a
small
miner. I'm gonna have to
it's a
talk to him
small
about
word.
that at
Yeah.
Buds.
Ask him about it. I don't know what role he did there, but yeah, he knew my mates really well, and especially the crazy bastard that I was telling you about, Big Matt. He was he worked with him for quite a few years,
Oh, that's cool, man. I didn't know he was a miner, dude.
and
Yeah,
knew him
I
well.
like
Yeah,
him even more now.
and then also the ask you got to ask him about the town where that mine was, man. It's a fucking
Where
time
were they
warp.
at?
It's a little town called Woods Point, and so
Is it out by
Aussies,
Perth?
yeah. No, man, no, it's in the Victorian High Country, and
Okay.
so I guess it's sort of just northeast of Melbourne, up in the mountains, yeah. And Woods Point, man, it's like a fucking time warp. I don't know if you still have towns in the States where you drive in, man, and it looks like nothing has changed in 100 years. Well, that's what Woods
Yeah.
Point looks like. The mine office is the only building that's not like at least 100 years old. It's a crazy place to go to.
So we have a place out here called Jargage, which is an hour or two north. And in the wintertime, you can't get in and out of there unless you come in through Idaho. And there's an underground hard rock mine up there that is operational. But the rest of the town is an old west town. Like most of the time, people are going there to, ride their dirt bikes and side by sides. There's a couple saloons. Gas is $7 a gallon. If you want some. Place is awesome. It was actually the last place in the United States to have an actual stagecoach robbery in 1911, I think it was.
Yeah.
But there's an operational hard rock mine there, so it's kind of weird. You've got this old Wild West town that there's probably like 150 people there, and then an operational mine up on the side of the mountain with a man camp down the road. It's a trip, but yeah. So I feel what you're
That's
talking
kind of
about.
sounds like Woods Point. The mine's closed at the moment because they got in trouble for doing a whole lot of really unsafe things, and they got closed down, which was a good thing in the end because my
It's
mates had to
dangerous.
my mates had to get different new jobs, man. But that was it was a good thing in the end, better than them dying there, So because they were doing some really, they weren't
On the up and up.
doing the right structural things in tunnels and all that sort of thing. So it was a bit of a mess, man. But yeah, that's
And
an interesting one.
for people listening, when you think of an underground mine, a lot of people think of like an 1800s mine. It's nothing like that. There's underground. It's like an underground city up here at Leeville. That thing goes down like 2,700 feet, and then there's 20 something miles of drift. I mean, you go into a different county in there, and then there's underground there's underground maintenance shops. Vehicles go under the ground and they spend their whole career under there. They never leave. The trucks, everything. It's an underground. It's amazing the magnitude. But yeah, if you screw up underground, the order of magnitude of is 10 times what it is on the surface. So yeah, shutting it if it's unsafe. That's probably the right call. I'd rather be unemployed than dead.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So one of my mates, he's the big guy. He's now he's headed over to Western Australia and he's opal mining now, which he's done before. But
Oh,
yeah,
tell them to come up to Nevada, man. We're
he's
hiring.
yeah, he probably, dude, he's crazy. He probably would. He'd
He, dude,
probably get his
he
passport
would
and
love it.
go, man. So
You would love this place. They make good money, and if you like anything outdoors, off road, hunting,
oh yeah,
shooting,
yeah,
guns, any of that stuff, man, you're dialed out here. Off
yeah,
road
yeah.
paradise.
Yeah, if his opal mine doesn't work out, I'll let him know.
Just tell
That's
him to look up Nevada gold mines, man. You have a job in 10 minutes. Big
yeah,
spelled cat with a C. He's dialed.
he'd be all about that, man. Yeah, cool, man. Dude, so tell us about how you got. How did you get involved with Whiskey Throttle? So, what did you do? Did you do a media gig before then? Like, how did all that come about?
No, man, I just do what I do. And so I manage the group I work for, right? I have a bunch of guys who work under me. And so I put those guys to work before me unless the client specifically says, hey, we want your level out here of expertise, right, for the big projects. So I go out the door probably about 3 months a year, where I'm working 7 12s, sometimes 6 months if I'm really, really busy or got a lot of stuff. And the rest of the time I'm working from home, managing all the projects, overseeing everything, going out and seeing clients, stuff like that, kind of running the group. So I have a lot of free time, right? And my wife and we got married. We were living in Reno, Nevada, and we moved down to Lake Havasu in Arizona. And maybe I don't know, 6 months after I bought the house down there, the place was sick. I'm still mad at her for making me move, but she got a job offer with a startup finance company. My wife's an MBA, and it worked out very well. She's chief operating officer for it now, and pretty soon I'm going to be a kept man. I got a sugar mama, right? But
Nice. Sounds
yeah.
good.
So at the end of the day, it's going to work out for old Jeffrey, but. She came and lived with her mom in Southern California and was like, hey, I'm gonna give this 6 months to see how it goes. Well, about 3 months in, she goes, either sell the house or get a divorce. And I'm like, well, I kind of like the house, and she's like, yeah. So I sold the house and I moved over to Southern California. Well, I didn't know anybody, man. So we moved over there in the beginning of 2018, and I would just go do turnarounds. I come home and I'm like, this sucks, dude. I got no buddies down here. I don't know anybody. You can only go sit down at the beach and look at Catalina so many times before you're like, okay, fuck the beach, right? I've got a bunch of 4-wheel drives. I'd go play out in the woods and go shooting guns out in the desert. But my wife said, why don't you get an Instagram page, find something to do or something? I'm like, okay. So I got an Instagram, and that's when politics was just going haywire over here. And I was like, dude, I'm not following any politics. I don't want to deal with that shit. And I was like, I'm going to get into just kind of follow moto and kind of get back into that because I was so busy with work for so many years that I didn't even really follow the racing for a couple of years after Villapoto went to Europe. I just was so busy with work. I wasn't even following the races, and I'm kind of ashamed of myself for that because I missed out on a bunch of good riding, right, for quite a few years. And so I got back into doing that, following on Instagram, right? And one day I saw David Pingree pop up as a suggested follow, and I go, Ping. Oh yeah, I remember him. He was a smart ass. I like that guy, from his electronic theme column and all that stuff. And I remember when he wrecked at Phoenix and broke the bike in half, and he beat Bubba the weekend before. So I was like, yeah, dude, that guy was kind of rad. So I followed him, and so I was living in Irvine at the time, which is 6 7 miles over the hill from Laguna Beach, where Troy Lee has is one of his shops, right on the down a little beach town, down a funky little beach town. And so I followed Ping, and I seen this thing that was right when Whiskey Throttle Media came out, or I mean Whiskey Throttle Show came out, and that was in like 20. I don't know. I've been out about a year, something like that. And so I started following it, and I'm like you, I watched the Whiskey Throttle Show, and I was hooked. I was like, dude, this is awesome, right? And so I started following him. Well, Ping was doing a bunch of live shows at the time. So finally, I was going to be home for one, and it was Kalani Robb. He was kind of a surfing legend, And I was like, dude, that'll be cool. I'm going to go down to that. And so I went down there and watched the show. And I just, when it was over, I briefly met Ping, and I met his wife, Amber. She was working the bar, and I left. And then I think I flew to Singapore the next day, and I was gone for like a month. And I came back and I saw that there was another show. And I think it was, Terry Hart's show, and that was over at TLD in Corona. So I went over to that one, and like he recognized me, and he's like, "Hey, how you doing?" So I sat there and shot the shit with him for a while, and then I think like a month later, this was all right before COVID hit. He did Ricky Carmichael's show, and so I wasn't missing Ricky. Ricky was my guy when he was racing. I was a huge Ricky Carmichael fan. And so I went over to RC's show, and Method was a sponsor of the show at the time, and I actually won a set of wheels at that show. So I was like, yeah, and I was all pumped on that, and I think he thought it was hilarious, my reaction. But we just started bullshitting, and then I don't know, COVID hit and everything went to hell, and so the only kind of thing for a diehard moto guy is like watching media and old stuff like that, and like Deegan, I think he did a lot for the moto community during that time frame, and Ping was doing a lot of stuff, putting out content that he could in the Whiskey Throttle show, and whatever I could get my hands on to feel some kind of normal, right? And I remember it was Thanksgiving of 2020. I was up in Quebec, Canada, working at a place called Hayson, and I was up there kind of on a long-term assignment. Well, I had to sit in a hotel for 2 weeks, quarantine, and thank God I was smart enough to get one with a patio where I could go outside overlooking the city, because I would have probably hucked myself out the window. It just pissed me off. The whole thing just pissed
Mm.
me off. The reason I was sitting there, and so I was going off on my social media page. Well, Donnie from Whiskey Throttle Show had followed me. I guess he just had a soft spot for the lunatic that I am, and I don't know. He must have told Ping, dude, you got to check this shit out, because I was just ranting, dude, crawling on the walls. And so Ping started following me, and I'm like, oh, cool, So we just kind of became buddies from there. And then when I got home, he was like, hey, I'm filming a show, man. You want to come watch it? Yeah, it was right there at the height of COVID. You couldn't do anything. So I'd go over to Corona and, watch him film a show, and just, it kind of went from there, right? And, you know, now I have a small stake in the business, and film for him. His daughters they call me Uncle Jeff, just kind of rolling the house like, hey, what are you doing? It's just, he's like my brother now. It's just a trip. The whole thing, it's kind of like, how the hell? Everybody's like, how the hell did you get into them? I Forrest Gump my way into it, dude. The whole thing was Forrest Gump from the beginning, and so I just started helping him with live shows, and the golf tournament we do every November with Road to Recovery. Shit, what am I gonna do? Moto people, let's go to races. And then we started going to races together, and then it just kind of steamrolled from there. And then I was going to like 6 motocross races and 6 outdoor nationals a year, because I travel so much for a living. I got 1,000,000 miles and rental car, free hotels, all that shit. And so I went out to Southwick in 22, and he's all, hey man, take some videos and send them to us. I'm like, okay, cool. So I sent him some stuff, I have no idea what I'm doing, right? And then it kind of went from there. Well, I went to Washougal in 22, and he goes, hey man, do some interviews. And I'm like, huh? And he goes, yeah, just go interview the guys. Tell me you're with Whiskey Throttle Media. And I go, I am? He goes, yeah. I go, wow, how do I do that, Mr. Pro Motocross guy? What do how do I do that? So he kind of gave me a rundown of what to say and what to do. And he goes, you got a good line of bullshit, just go talk with him, right? And it just went from there, and we went through a couple filmers, and we got this real good kid, Nate, now. He's only 24, going to be 25 next week. And me and David, boy, that kid he didn't know what he was in for, hopping in with two grumpy old men like me and Ping, right? Ping's almost 50, I'm
Yeah.
48, We're Gen X, just kind of mentality if you don't want to work hard, so his eyes were about that big the first time I went and hung out with him. We went out to an Alpine Stars gig in Skid Row in LA, and he hops in my truck wearing a pearl necklace. I'm like, there's a flex, dude, and he's like, yeah. And he went to grab something out of the center console of my Ford F-250, and my pistol's in there, and he kind of looked at me and go, dude, we're going to Skid Row at 10 o'clock at night in downtown LA, dude. I'm packing, bro. So it's just kind of funny, right? So um we got this cool filmer, and we got a good vibe. His buddy Bruce Murata used to be with Alias. came in for a while, and he's kind of out right now taking care of his company that he has. He has a big glass company. So we have Bruce, and we've got Nate and myself, and Brent Bowser does our podcast stuff, and our buddy Adam Persitz is one of our test riders. Jason Fakir is a test rider. We got this kid Cody Moore. So it just kind of organically grew from the Whiskey Throttle show into Whiskey Throttle Media. Now we got both things, and we do some racing sometimes. So there's kind of three facets to it. But yeah, it just, like I said, it just Forrest Gumped, and I was willing to put in the effort, and then I don't know, in November. I would just kind of go do interviews at the races and stuff like that. We weren't credentialed. We we kind of got our tit in a ringer with Feld and MX Sports over the Super Motocross thing. Ping kind of made a smart ass remark about Super Motocross's name. That didn't go well. So we got our hands slapped pretty good for the 23 season. And so I was just kind of going around pirating uh, interviews and stuff at the races, and just kind of going and meeting people, and Ping would introduce me to people and stuff like that. And then the ability to get a credential came around this year. We kind of got everything sorted out and got our shit together, so to speak. And Nate was filming, but he couldn't travel all the time, and I kind of really liked the idea of playing with a camera and all that stuff. I'd never done it before, and so I started. I'm one of those people where if I like it, I'm going to go do it, and I'm going to figure it out. Don't give me a book. I'll toss the thing in the corner. I'll never read it. But if I put my hands on something and I do it, I'll remember it. If I like it, if I don't like it, it's in one ear and out the other. It drove my parents nuts when I was a kid. But I apparently took to the making edits and doing stuff like that. And thank God for Nate, because he's been a great mentor for me, being a 24-year-old kid, but that's his cup of tea right there. Right. So I picked up a camera, asked some questions, and just figured it the F out, but Ping asked me in November, why don't you take care of the social media? And I'm like, I ain't doing that shit. And I do have the time, but I was like, man, I don't want to do that. That's a hell of a responsibility. If you think, now for most media companies, your Instagram page, even over your YouTube, is where you're having the most engagement, right? And I finally agreed to do it in, I don't know, November or somewhere around there, and we were, I think, 38,000 followers. And I just started playing with the algorithm and making edits and just making mistakes and figuring it out. And hell, I think right now we're at 99,000, just from November to now. We've grown it almost 60,000 followers, and we got some edits through over 4 million views. I thought when we came into Supercross, I was like, man, if we could get like 2 million views on Instagram this season, that'd be bitching, and I think I ran the math the other day, and we're like 75 million views on Instagram for the Supercross
Damn,
season.
yeah.
and
That's
and it
unreal.
just, again, forced my way into it. I'm like, okay, I'll do it. And I just decided to start playing with it and figure it out. And it's just been cool as a moto fan. I've got to be careful. Like when I became credentialed, okay, no more trying to hustle jerseys. I collect jerseys. You don't do that kind of shit. You got to be professional and do all that kind of crap. Which sometimes I'm like, man, I really want that jersey, dude. That'd be rad, But just being a moto fan and being on that side of the fence, it's just a trip, dude. I'm like, how the hell? I remember when Tomac, I think it was at Dallas or whatever. I'm like, how the hell am I on the floor of Texas Stadium filming Eli Tomac? 5 years ago, if you would have asked me if I'd be doing this, I'd be like, dude, you're high as a giraffe's ass, dude. What are you talking about? I ain't doing shit.
Yeah.
And so the whole thing's been cool, and I just got to give it all up to David. He believed in me, and he took a chance. He didn't know me from Adam, and uh, it's just kind of been a dream come true. I always was like, man, to do something in moto would be cool, but how do you even get into it? Well, like I said, it just kind of goes back to that Forrest Gump thing. That's how I got to where I am, and I'm figuring it out, and I got a lot to learn, man. When I go around all those filmers, like the guys like Garth Milan from Align, that guy's a legend. Emery and those guys from Garth Octopi and Align is like started with Simon Covey. Everybody knows who Simon Covey is, a filmer. And so a guy named Emery, he has that and all his guys. And those guys, and Tommy Tender's the one who was part of Team Fried, and Jason and those guys, and now Jets Filmer. I'm running around with all those dudes, and I'm like, what, I just try to stay out of the way, and being a big oaf like I am, it's kind of hard to, but they're super cool dudes, and they're all willing to help, just be cool and be respectful, and they'll show you the ropes, and uh, I'm really grateful to those guys too, and Feld and Davey and all those guys for giving us a chance to do what we're doing. And yeah, I don't know where it's going to go to. I don't know how long I'm going to do it, but I'm going to ride this bitch till the wheels fall off, dude. I'm having a blast.
Dude, I fucking love it. I love this story, and I love the story, man. And dude, like, there's a lot of similarities there to my story. It's amazing, a fucking hell of a lot of similarities there, man. So, and
How did you get in? How did you get into the Moto Media or whatever you're doing?
dude. So, I well, I guess the very first thing was I mean, fuck, man, my story's a long one. I'll try and make it. I'll try and do the shortest version I can. One day we'll have a beer, man, and I'll give you the long version. But basically, I had a almost some life-changing moments. Okay, yeah, so some life-changing moments, and I'd done it pretty hard for a while, and I sort of got my shit sorted out, and I got started to get healthy, and just being a healthier, better person.
Yeah.
And I decided that I wanted to get into some sort of interaction with moto people, basically. And so and I've always had a fascination with the US moto scene and that sort of thing. And I've got a big collection of magazines and all this knowledge, and I'm a historian, So I started an Instagram page, and it blew up. Like, it went fucking crazy because of just basically all the cool shit I was posting. Especially a lot of old ads, a lot of old moto ads, and a lot of old, just cool old photos and old ads and that sort of thing. And it sort of went crazy and grew and grew and grew. And then I ended up with people like, some of my heroes like Jim Holly and guys like following the page, and Mike Webb, and like these guys, and
Then that trip you out, you're like, holy shit,
and commenting and commenting and DMing, and getting a DM from Jim Holly and shit like that. And I was like, fucking wow, and so there was that, and then I used to write articles. I like writing. I'm a writer, right? And I used to write things about moto that nobody would ever see except for my wife, and she doesn't follow moto, so she didn't even know what the fuck I was writing. But she'd read it just so someone read it. And then I got mates with the moto community in Australia is small, man, and I got mates with Nick and Trent from the Moto Limited show, and just from listening to their show and commenting, and ended up getting involved with that and doing some content for them, and basically doing shit that made them laugh on the show. And I'd send them fucking funny voicemails, and I'd send in fucking funny songs that I'd sung and all this sort of shit. And they ended up getting me to help out, and flew me to some races, and gave me a camera, get some footage, and I started writing stories about the Aussie motocross for those guys. And that sort of gave me a bit of confidence, and I started interviewing and that
that's
sort of
hard,
thing.
isn't it?
It was, but like I'm pretty ballsy with stuff like that. Like, it was hard, but I was like, I'm a very confident. I'm almost too confident sometimes. But it was like one race we're at an Aussie National, and Trent, because it was in just a prick of a spot, Trent had to fly out before the last fucking moto, right? So he was going to miss the end of the day. And his big thing back then on Moto Limited was the How Was Your Day videos. And he was like, dude, I need you to do all the How Was Your Day videos. So that was it. I'm fucking jobs on. I was like grabbing all the race winners and everything, and doing the How Was Your Day videos and all that sort of thing. And So that anyway, I ended up doing a heap with the Moto Limited guys, and they sort of really helped me out. And I went on their show, and I remember doing my first podcast with those two guys as a guest and that sort of thing. And I thought, oh, this is cool and all that, and did a heap of that sort of stuff. And then I was a big fan of Main Event Moto, as I said. I'm a big moto head, and one day there, I was making some funny comments on the chat, and DB and Vinny, his brother Vinny, were on the show, and I said, Aussie Steve, they mentioned my comments and they're laughing and that, and they're like, get him on the show. So they got me on the show, and I made them laugh, and then ended up getting me on the show again and again, just doing fucking funny shit, making them laugh, or just to get on and just shoot the shit. And ended up just becoming mates with DB, basically, just through similar to sort of how you got mates with Ping, same sort of thing. Like, why is someone your mate? I don't know, just because you're fucking both cool and you got similar interests and you got on well and end up being a good mate of DB's. So
yeah, that dude's one of the coolest dudes you'll meet in moto.
He is, man. And same with Joe and Toolman Dan, and I just got on with those guys like it was like I was meant to be, man. Like they were as if they were mates I've known forever, And so and then eventually, so I was writing articles for Moto Limited, and I was interacting a lot on Main Event Moto and that sort of thing. And eventually, I thought, oh fuck, maybe I should have a crack at my own show. And then the guys at L4 Media, they sort of said, hey, we'll give you support with the technical stuff, because the technical stuff I had just no idea, man. Like, where do you start? Like, it was just too hard. So I got into that, and then
so you Forrest jumped your way into it.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, it's Forrest Gump, but it's also too, man, like, a lot of hours of work, man. There's a lot of hours of work, and a lot of hours at work, and a lot of hours of free work, man. Like, when I first started my Instagram page, man, I would spend a couple of hours every night of the week posting up cool stuff and scanning or photographing old ads from my collection and posting them up, and I would reply to every single comment, every single person who liked there was dirt bikes in there. I would follow them back, and I would spend fucking hours a day, probably more than 2 hours, probably 3 hours a day, So, and I did that for years and built that up to sort of build. I wanted to get it to 5,000, for a little Aussie guy like that's a fucking lot, And I've got I had comments from David Bailey, Jeremy McGrath, and shit like that. I'd be just like, fucking wow, this is amazing,
Dude, oh, that's awesome.
And so that was cool. And then so we got the podcast started, and then just through all these avenues, through my Instagram page, and through the the Main Event guys, and knowing them, and then getting to know people they knew, especially when I went to America and I met a heap more people and that sort of thing. And I basically got so I got some good guests at the start, and then because you've got good guests, you get good numbers, so you get more good guests, and then fuck man, like about a month ago, I had my childhood hero Rick Johnson on, and it's just like, and it's like you were saying before, like if you'd have told me 5 years ago, especially if you'd have told me when I was a kid, but if you'd have told me even 5 years ago that I would have interviewed Rick Johnson, you might as well tell me that fucking, I don't know. I can't think of a good analogy.
You're gonna fly out your ass.
That's right, man. Yeah, that's right, man. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of funny how similar it is. It
is, man. Yeah. So, but it's
I feel you on the grind. One of the things I get, and I'm sure you've been asked this, is, how did you, how do you get into moto media? And I kind of just give them the short version of what I told you. But if you're gonna get into it, you better do what you say and say what you do. Because those guys will sniff out a weasel real quick.
Yeah.
Be about your shit. Just be straight with them. Be patient. Don't be pushy.
Mm.
And do what you say and say what you do. But if you're going to do it, you're not going to make a ton of money doing it,
You're working.
and you have to love it. I spend so much time on Instagram getting it dialed, and just kind of following things and staying up on things. I'm doing 3 pods a week now. This is my fourth one this week, right? But I do it because I love it. I'm
Mm.
sitting in my fifth wheel. My wife's at home, so it's not like I'm getting in trouble. I'd be watching TV right now. So it's like watch TV or meet some dude that I've never met and halfway around the world and talk moto. You're my boy now. If I
Yeah,
come to
yeah,
Australia,
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
looking
that's
you
it.
up,
Yeah,
and we're gonna go find Ed, and we're gonna get drunk and talk moto, and
yeah,
I'm gonna tell you
that's it. Yeah.
how much better Team USA is gonna be than Tomac or Jetson and them, and I'll probably get my ass kicked in the bar down there, but it'll be a hell of a story. you
Yeah,
know?
yeah. It's it's cool, man. Yeah, I've had, you get the question, how did you get into it? I'd like to get into it and that. And yeah, you got to be prepared to do fucking, I don't know, thousands of hours of work for nothing because you love it. That's the
Yeah.
starting point. And then also too, man, like I say to people, it's advice I give to youngsters sometimes too, man, if they've got a good personality. Like, personality is a skill, man. Just like having a good arm throwing a football, or being a good dirt bike racer, or being a good singer, or whatever. If you've got a skill, if you've got a personality, people like to talk to you, people like to listen to you. That's a
Yeah.
skill. You fucking lean on it. It's an actual skill.
I've got a good line of bullshit, right?
Yeah, that's why AP is loved heaps more than poor old Justin Cooper, because Justin's such a quiet guy. Like,
Yeah.
you do, you can lean in on your personality, if you've
Look at
got
Dean
that.
Wilson. Look at Dean
Exactly, man.
Wilson.
Yeah,
If he wasn't who he was, he'd have been out of it years ago. But he could race a couple more years because everybody loves Dean.
that's right,
You
man.
know,
Yeah,
so
and I
it's a
like
good
a
life lesson for anything you do. It did not
yeah,
just moto. If
yeah,
people love you and
yeah.
you're genuine, you're gonna go to the top no matter what.
Yeah, yeah, and the genuine man, and yeah, like you said, doing what you say you're going to do, and being reliable and that sort of thing, counts for a lot, man. And yeah, and doing things for free. Like, I wrote articles for Moto Limited for, I don't know, 2.5 years or something. And I did all that for, like, they would, I pretty much did all that for free, because even when they paid for some flights to go to some races, I was working that while I was there for them as well. So,
Yeah, yeah.
and I would spend a lot of time writing those articles and go to a lot of trouble and a lot of time, and that sort of
But you
thing.
did it because you
So,
loved it, right?
but I did it because I love it. Like, I could come home from my day job, and if you said, so I have a little construction business, and if I come home from my day job and there's something wrong with my own house I got to fix, oh fuck, that sucks. Like, that's like the
Yeah, those are the
worst
worst.
fucking thing, like. But I'll come home pretty wrecked some days. Like, I do some pretty big days, and I'll come home and I'll come into the studio here, and I'll put in 4 hours work, cutting edits, or planning things, or contacting guests and keeping all that going, and all this sort of stuff that we do, because I love it, man. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's part of it. But it's funny, man. It's I didn't know your story, man, but yeah, there's a lot of similarities there. It's pretty
Yeah,
crazy.
it's cool.
But then, man, like, even that's another thing that I did, that helped me, with networking. I got to know Darkside, and I helped out Darkside with the Polhum wrap up show for a few
Yeah.
years as well, and that was just a networking thing, because I knew Nick, because Nick and Trent with Moto Limited were friends with Darkside, and actually I think I got to know Darkside before them. And I just said to Darkside, hey, do you want some help with the wrap up show? So I started helping him with notes for the wrap up show. That was for a few years, until that finished, and that sort of thing. And he was like, I was helping him out for free, but he was really awesome. And then he come on the show, and then that gives you more networking and more people, and that sort of thing. And
Networking is the key thing for what we're doing. You have
it
to be
is,
able
man.
to
Yeah,
talk to people, and and just make relationships and stuff like that. And
Yeah,
if you can do that, you can succeed in this business, you know, and
yeah.
just be a straight up dude. You'll be
A
fine.
genuine networking, yeah, because you see it, you see the people who go around pissing in people's pockets, wanting to get to know them, and just crawling up their ass so they can get to
Yeah,
know
I'm
them
not an ass kisser.
just for just for personal gain. Whereas like I genuinely want to talk to everyone. Like I fucking love talking to everyone, and I don't
Yeah,
care if it's like when I go to a race, I make a point of walking to the very, very, very last pit of the whole complex and saying g'day to the dude who's just in his fucking truck or his fucking high ace van or sprinter van if you're in the US, with his
yeah,
kid, with their ratty bike and a ratty toolbox who's traveled there and that. Like, I want to talk to that guy as much as I want to talk to Rick Johnson. I
they're characters,
genuinely
dude.
do. That's awesome, man. Whereas that's I think that's part of the real passion of it, man. Because there is people out there who they're not interested in that shit because that
Yeah,
talking
they're
to
looking over time.
having having Joe from Bumfuck Nowhere come on their show to talk about his privateer life isn't profitable to him, whereas I
Yeah,
don't
which
care.
is kind of sad because the privateers are the heart of the sport.
Yeah. And there's people out there in the media that are like that, but that's them. But I don't know. I don't see that as a long game either. Like eventually, I think people figure out when others aren't super genuine, and it's just all about gain. Pay me for this, pay me for that sort of thing. Whereas if you're doing it because you love it, man, and you're treating everybody really good along the way, it works
Yeah,
out for you. And I
I
believe
like
that in life, man. So
I like your about going through the paddock and going talking to the privateers. I try to do some of that stuff too. I really haven't this year done a whole lot of interviewing. I did the post race press conferences with Supercross, and I'll go talk to people, but I'm just so wrapped up in my own head with trying to figure out filming at the moment, and
yeah,
getting the max amount of content that I have kind of drifted away from doing the interviewing stuff, just because I don't like asking the same regurgitated bullshit to everybody, right? But
yeah,
I like to go talk to a privateer or two and make buddies with them. I got a buddy, Vincent Harrison. He's out of West Virginia. I met him at Ironman in 22, and that was when I was just pirate media guy, right? Just
yeah,
making my
yeah,
way in there and getting he was racing. And he goes, "Oh shit, I'll get you a wristband." I'm like, "Oh yeah, I just showed up down there, and I'm just gonna figure it out, right?" So I did an interview with him and threw him up on Whiskey Throttle for the thanks, and I still stay in touch with him. I got to see him at Southwick this year, and just made buddies with him. And some of the best people I've met have been in moto and just privateer guys, that are just cool as shit, and they all got interesting
yeah. They're the
stories.
best.
So
Yeah,
yeah, it's been so funny. My wife's kind of like, do you consider these people your friends? I go, shit, more than I do half the people I've known 20 years. I trust them more too.
yeah,
They're
yeah.
moto heads, right? And but yeah, it is true. There's some people out there that they're just, if they're not getting a paycheck or they're not getting the top views, they're not gonna talk to you. They're not gonna do anything. And hey, teach their own, right? But
Yeah.
I try to get along with everybody, no matter who they are. Like Michael Antonovich, he's been from the get go. He was super helpful to me, and if you put me and Anton together, we're probably polar opposites in almost every facet you could think of, right? He's
Yeah.
very
Yeah, I
polite,
get
well
what you mean. Yeah,
spoken,
yeah.
mild mannered, and I'm just this big, brash, bear, blah, louder than shit. Everybody's all quiet, and I come in there, just being me. And that's just who I am, right? But super cool. Always took the time to help me if I had questions or I'd see him at the race and he knew I was pirate and shit. And he'd go, "Hey, that was a good interview you did. And so that would kind of get me pumped up and doing stuff like that. So there's some good guys out there. And like, even Michael Lindsay, everybody, kind of gets on him. He's polarizing to say the least. I screw with that guy so bad, dude. I was slapping Whiskey Throttle stickers on his vinyl van all last on the off season, and he came up to me at the Honda release in December. He's like, "You son of a bitch, when'd you put that on?" I'm like, "Oh, Paul, like 3 weeks ago." He goes, "I've been driving my damn rig around with all over California with a freaking Whiskey Throttle sticker." I'm like, "Yeah, bitch." So the last time I
Yeah,
saw him at the Honda test track, I just walked up and I threw a Whiskey Throttle sticker on his lap, and I go, "Put it where you want." So he slapped it on the back of his laptop, working from the vinyl, doing his stuff. So
yeah,
he's cool. It's just
mm.
there's everybody's got a personality and an angle, and I try not to judge them.
Yeah,
There's a
man.
couple of
Yeah,
guys that I just won't talk to just because I just don't like them, right? But
yeah,
most of the people out there are pretty good dudes, and everybody's got their own angle, and I just kind of let them do their thing and just don't get in my lane, and we'll be fine.
mm.
That's kind of
Like
how I am.
moto people are good people, man. Like I reckon. I was actually for some reason I was thinking about it the other day. Actually I know I was thinking about it. I'll get back to that. The people that I've met through dirt bikes, man, that I didn't like, I reckon I could count them on one hand. In my life, man. I'm 48 and I've been into dirt
Yeah,
bikes since I was about 10. So, like there's not many, man. And even the ones you didn't like, they weren't that bad. They just weren't your guy,
yeah,
as far as as someone that's just an absolute jerk, like I don't know if I can even think of one, to be honest. It's sometimes the worst ones I can think of were maybe a dude's girl who was a pain in the ass, but because she wasn't into moto and she didn't want to be there or things like that sometimes.
yeah,
But yeah, it's moto people are good. And why I was thinking about that the other day, man, is because and it's one thing which the Whiskey Throttle guys definitely don't do, but there's a lot going around the media, especially this year, where um, the moto fans are getting judged on the few dickheads in the YouTube comments and all that sort of thing. And it's sort of like there's a bit of a narrative of you know, anything we do, anything we say, the moto fans are going to be negative. But that's just
yeah,
not true, man. It's a tiny percentage of dickheads that is everywhere in society that say dumb shit or aggressive shit or things on comments. And that the vast majority of moto fans are fucking awesome people, man.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
yeah. So that's that's
I've
something
had,
that
and I had to learn that lesson, when I took over the page or when I started posting stuff or put myself out there on some of these pods, like who the f is this guy, or they'd make a smart ass remark and I'd be like, well, you wouldn't say that to my face in person, I promise you that.
yeah
So that doesn't really bother me, but at the same time, I'm like, fuck that guy, dude. I don't
yeah
care
yeah
what you
yeah
got to say about me, right?
yeah
Let's see your edits you put up from the race, or well, let's see your page, man. If you're so Johnny Cool guy, and usually that'll shut them up, right? But and even
yeah
then, I just got to the point, I'm like, whatever, dude. If somebody's too mouthy, I'll just clip them, dude. Fuck them.
yeah. Every now and again, it gets the better of me, and I've got to be a smart ass back to someone, and I'm pretty good at it too. But I try. It's not the right thing to do, but sometimes
No,
I
it's
do lose
not.
control and I give a bit back.
Hey,
Um,
I
but
come from the bricklaying trades and the mines and refineries. It's like, hey, you got a freaking problem, we can handle it. And I gotta remember, I can't do that working for Whiskey Throttle Media.
yeah,
So I
yeah.
gotta be a good boy.
And true, man, it is hard with digital stuff. Like some people, there's just like there's no way they're saying any of this stuff face to face to anyone. Like that ain't happening. They get
Oh,
people
like
like
I was
what?
telling you pregame, DB's filmer, what the hell is his name? I can't remember off the top of the head, but he's bigger than me, younger kid. And I jokingly told DB this yesterday. I was like, dude, me and him look like the Ohio State offensive line walking through the paddock. And I go, and so I was going back and forth with him today. I go, when we're at Buds, we got to do something. Maybe get Mina from Blue Group to film something funny, but like just kind
Yeah,
of walk through like Billy Badass. Like maybe I'll grab Tom and get him. Maybe I'll get Tom Drenay to be a part of it. Just walk by and kind of give him the old Trump face palm out of my way or so. I'll find somebody who's willing to get on it, just have some fun, But
yeah,
yeah, the two of us walking through the paddock, you ain't gonna go pick on DB's filmer. I promise you that. I wouldn't pick
yeah.
on him.
Yeah, yeah.
Main Event Moto's got a big old hoss out there, man. He ain't gonna give him no crap. So for you keyboard warriors, keep an eye on popping off to the Main Event Moto filmer. He's not the one to mess with.
Yeah, yeah. Every time I see a negative comment at my boy DB on any of his videos, that's hard to resist, man. Because like I
I'm the
love
same
that
way with
guy.
Dave.
I love him and I owe him a lot, man. He's been so good to me. And when I see a negative comment, I start typing. I'm like, nah, just because I know he doesn't care. He's that cool that he doesn't care. He's like fucking whatever, like
Yeah, he's been dealing with it forever.
But that's it. But yeah, it sometimes I just would go straight on the to defend, So, but yeah,
Well, I
you
get the
just
same way with David.
yeah, you
Like
would,
if
yeah.
you're gonna pop off, you're gonna fuck you, dude. That's my boy.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I've said to, I remember saying a few. I don't do it much now. I remember saying to a few people, like like I'll be over in the States at some stage, like we need to fight now. Like where are we meeting up? It's a few things like that. So yeah, which is
Yeah, I don't need to get
yeah,
to that point. We're too old for that shit.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But yeah, I don't do any of that sort of stuff anymore, though. No. Righto, folks. It's time for an ad break. Greg's Ultra Trick Seats, Guts Racing. Gutsracing.com. That's a really easy website name to remember. Gutsracing.com. RJ Hampshire won his Supercross title this year on a Guts seat. Over in Europe, we've got Lucas Conan and Kai de Wolf fighting out for a championship, both on Guts seats. Down here in Australia, we've got Jed Beaton right in the mix for a MX1 title on a Guts seat. He just won on the weekend up at Toowoomba. And so many other top riders around the world using Guts seats. Kenny Roxon. Ken's going to be back soon. Hopefully, we're going to see him hit up a national on a Guts seat. His teammates Cheers and Shane are already out there on their Guts seats. Mookie's out there on a Guts seat. He's getting better and better as the summer goes on. And also guys like Dylan Ferrandis, Derek Kelly out there, Scott Meshy. Scott Meshy, he's the privateer hero. And on the show, he said that a Guts seat is a butt gripper and that will make you a ripper. So how about that? You can obviously get a seat cover. You can also get a complete seat. You can get seat foams. You can get the ultralight seat foam. You can get the RJ wide wing seat. We had the man himself talking about that on the show a little while ago. You can get the seat bumps with the cover to suit. Huge range of colors. You can get the ballistic material added to the side of the seat if you are a big knee brace guy who is tearing up the sides of your seat. If you're a big, tall, lanky fella, you can get a tall seat. There's a couple of different heights of tall you can get. You can get a Velcro fitment seat if you don't want to tackle the job with the traditional staple gun method. Speaking of fitment, when you get your Guts seat cover, you can you get a QR code. You scan that QR code and it will take you to a video where you'll probably see Andy Gregg himself showing you how to install that seat cover. How good's that? Service right around the world where the man himself is actually showing you how to install the seat cover. So there's not too many companies that offer up service that good, is there? Gutsracing.com is the website. Once again, gutsracing.com. That is really, really easy to remember. Get around them. All right, let's get back to see what else me and Jeff are going to bench race about.
So you planning on traveling any races or going to come over to the States or anything anytime soon?
I do. I plan to get there next year again. So my first trip to anywhere outside of Australia was January just gone. I went to California, went to Anaheim 1.
Oh, you were there, huh?
Yeah, man. You might remember. Do you remember DB talking about how he wanted to just sit in the stands and just
Yeah, he got all the moto heads, right?
Yeah, man. I was there with him. So yeah, that was.
Damn it, and I one of the things I told Nate I wanted to do was go find Daniel in the stands and film. I just thought that was cool that Main Event did that. And
Yeah.
Whiskey Throttle, we don't have our heads up our ass. It's not like I'm not gonna post anything about main event. No, we're cool. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Where's cool?
Yeah.
I'd post them all day. You know, if I see Jace, I'll talk to Jace, right? You know, and
Yeah.
I wanted to go film that. I just thought that was rad that they did
Yeah,
that.
it
And you
was
guys
cool,
all had
man.
the
Like we're all
t-shirts.
sitting there. We had matching main event shirts. That's the shirt hanging up there just behind me, and there was about 70 of us, and and there's sort of like about a dozen of us that are like real, like we're fucking best mates, and we're all good mates with DB and Joe and all that as well. So,
Hey, did
but yeah,
Joe
that
wear a
was
paper
cool,
bag
man.
over his head to hide his identity?
He didn't, man. He didn't. No, he was out in the open. He was out in the open,
My
and
name is Fred at the race. Don't call me Joe. I don't want
he keeps a
anybody.
pretty low profile. Actually,
Yeah.
me and Joe were at a bar having a beer, and one of the nights there, and I got talking to just some random moto fan, and at the bar, that's what I'm like, I'm just talking to some dude, and he's like, "Oh, what do you do?" And I was talking to him, and then he looks at Joe because Joe was keeping a pretty low profile, and he's like, "Oh, what do you do?" And he's like, "Oh, he said, something to do with media or podcasting or something like that," but he didn't go into too much detail. So he's
Did
keeping
the
his
guy recognize
identity,
his voice?
keeping it. This guy didn't, but yeah, you would recognize his voice if you were looking for it. But yeah,
Oh
he
yeah,
keeps
he's
low
Wolfman
profile.
Jack, man. That guy's
Yeah,
got
man.
he's
Yeah,
got a
man.
voice for radio.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
Oh man, well when you come over, dude, we gotta hook up, dude. We got a bunch of bikes over here, dude. We'll go out to Paris. Scott Cooney owns Paris Raceway. Any of you guys ever come over and want to come ride Southern California, go check out Paris. Scott's cool, man. He'll treat you like family, and that place has got so much history. It's pretty much the oldest open motocross track around, in Southern California. And but yeah, you come over, man. We'll get you a bike. Oh, you ride my 250 or whatever you want, man. We'll take you out and roll out the red carpet, go out to Kihia or
Yeah,
wherever. We'll
man,
have a
for
ball.
sure. Like, so I'm just trying to figure out. I don't reckon I can afford 2 trips, and I really want to do a red bud. So I don't know. Yeah, my heart was set on California in January again, but then I really want to do red bud, and I don't reckon unless I have a bunch of new sponsors come in, in the new year, that might change that because that's sort of
Hey,
what
you got to get
pay
into
for the
merch,
trip.
dude. You need to get some merch. You need to start self funding. Do merch,
Mm,
dude.
yeah.
Your fans follow you. You could fund a trip off of a good season of merch sales. That's one
Yeah,
way you
I
could.
guess so. Yeah, that's something that I haven't really done yet. Like obviously, like Guts Racing sponsoring me, which is awesome. Andy Gregg, that's unreal. Do they sponsor you guys? I can't
No,
remember.
not
No.
Guts. We're sponsored by
Uh,
SKDA and C Concepts.
Seat Concepts. That's right. Yeah. Cool. Because between Seat Concepts and Guts, there's sort of everyone's got one of them as a sponsor, don't they? So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool,
Moto's
man.
so funny how sponsorships work, but we're lucky. I mean, we got factory connection. We got a lot of good stuff from Pro Circuit. And
Yeah.
so we're very grateful for our sponsors.
Yeah. So I'm obviously at that early stage. I can't believe the guests and the views and everything that I've had at this stage. And we're at about, I don't know, probably 10, 11 months into the show now, I
How many
guess,
episodes have you done?
So this is of the main show. This one we're doing right now is 53.
Okay.
And of the amateur show, there's been about 6 of them. So I've been getting on youngsters, haven't done any of them just lately because they're all prepping for Loretta's, and once we get past Loretta's, I'll get some of them back on and that sort of thing, and we've done a few review shows and a few things like that and that sort of thing that didn't get a lot of views and that sort of thing, but as well. So
Basically
all up
60 shows in 11 months, dude.
about 60.
Yeah, you're putting in work, dude.
Yeah, man.
That's
Oh yeah, no,
impressive. And look at the list of guests you've had. I was kind of scrolling through your YouTube before I got on here. I'm like, holy shit, dude! This guy's got some. Like you said, Ricky Johnson was on there. I'm like,
yeah.
This guy wants to talk to me. Okay,
Yeah,
right
man.
on.
But that's what I'm like.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I'm
Dude,
down for
like
it.
I
I
said, like
appreciate it.
if I meet that privateer in the last sprinter van in the pits and he's fucking cool, man, I want him on the show because he's got a good story. Like
Yeah, dude.
that's the sort
That's the
of
cool
that
thing.
I live by that. Like I actually remember, and I've probably said this before, but I remember this conversation clearly because it was me and one of my American mates, Kyle, were walking out of Anaheim 1, just shooting the shit. And we were talking about how people treat people. And I said to him, man, I would talk to your president exactly the same as I'm talking to you now, or the king, or the fucking pope, or whoever. It's the same as I'm talking to you now. I wouldn't swear to the pope, but yeah. But then, I said, the guy with the lowest paying job in the whole country, the janitor at a fucking jail or something, right? I'm going to talk to him exactly the same as I'm talking to you now as well. I don't give a fuck. Like, it's, I'll talk to a homeless person the same way. It's just,
I try to treat everybody like I'm going to give them the shirt off my back and give them. I'm a kind of I'm a give what you get guy. If you're good to me, man, I don't care who you are. I'm gonna do whatever I can. I'll drop what I'm doing to help you. But the minute you're a shithead to me, you're gonna find out that the bull's got some horns still. I don't do well with people who are disrespectful, and and I'll get mad at myself when I'm kind of short with somebody. I'm like, man, I shouldn't be like that. You know what I mean? I try to put my best foot forward. And nobody's perfect. But yeah, that's one thing I could say for people in life is that I've been around. I've sat and had meetings with the vice presidents of Shell Oil explaining why their plant blew up, to working with the security guard working in the basement of Anaheim Stadium, making sure people don't walk in there, and she's making minimum wage, right? Treat everybody the same, right? And how they treat you is how you don't always have to react. It's kind of just like, okay, cool. Later, bro. So that's kind of where I'm at in life. When I was younger, it was react to everything and everyone, and that shit will just eat you up. So just try to be chill, and like to what you're saying, if you're willing to talk to the janitor, the president, I wouldn't talk to our president. I'd tell him to F off.
Maybe not, but
Yeah,
the
he
sentiment
doesn't
of
get
it,
yeah, he doesn't get a pass, but
yeah.
everybody else. But I think kind of to what you're saying is, imagine all the opportunities you miss in life if you just didn't talk to everybody,
Yeah.
right? Because everybody's got a story and cool shit,
Fuck yeah, they
So
do. It's fucking
yeah,
awesome, man.
so
It
I
really
get
is.
what you're saying there, and that's a good philosophy in life.
Yeah. It's something that I
It really
definitely,
is.
I really, drive into my kids, and then the flip side of it, which I tell the kids, and I tell anybody that listens, like, you see the other side of that. You see people who are very judgy, and the thing about that, man, is if somebody judges you and they don't know you well and they treat you sort of differently, well, straight away you know that person's just a cunt. So fuck them off, man. It's the clearest, quickest indication that you don't need that person in your life if they are judgy, because you're poorer than them or shorter than them or any fucking reason, or you're not as good at something as them. It's straight away. It's a really good
What's
indication.
that old saying? You never judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree.
Yeah, that's right. Man. Yeah,
When you get in the ocean, that fish is the king, right?
yeah,
So
that's right. Yeah,
everybody's good at something,
yeah, man. Absolutely, they are, man. They are. That's it, man. Dude, tell us about the Chevelle, man. So I used to be big time into cars. I'm not as much nowadays, just because I spend so much time being into bikes, man. But I got to hear about that Chevelle.
Oh, that Chevelle, man, she's a lonely girl, dude. I'll tell you what. So, I've always had hot rods when I was a kid. Just when I had a license, I would say I was a bit of a hellraiser as a child, if you can believe that. But I always wanted hot rods, right? And so when I finally, working in the oil and mining, your buddy will tell you, when you're working in the mining industry, it goes from you're making shit for years, and then finally you've got enough experience and enough tribal knowledge to where you just, all of a sudden you're
Yeah,
like, holy shit, got a few bucks in the bank, right?
yeah,
So I don't know, probably around 2010, I was like, man, I really like the Chevy C10s, the old 70s step sides. I always wanted one, and my buddy Steve had one, and I was like, man, he was kind of always talking about selling it. So he wanted 20 grand for that truck. So I went to the bank one day and I went and got the money out and I sent him a picture of a stack of $100 bills sitting on my table. He's like, "You son of a bitch," you know. And I've been friends with this guy since kindergarten. Well, about a week later, I ended up buying the truck off him. And I had that, and then my dad was always a hot rodder, and he wanted something, so we found that Chevelle up in out by Carson City, Nevada, and the body work on it would look like Stevie Wonder did the body work, you know, and had no clue what they were doing, but whoever built it mechanically did the frame right. It was the frame had been restored. It had all Hotchkiss suspension. It's got a sequential port injected 502 with a 5-speed 373 posi, dynoed 500 to the rear tire. So the bones of the car were badass, and so my dad ended up buying it, and the interior wasn't done. And in Lake Havasu, Arizona, you know, where Julian Beaumare's from, that's like the hot rod capital of the United States. There's
Oh, okay. Yeah.
like all the guys from Southern California had money when they retire. They get the F out of California. They go over there and they buy hot rods and have 1,500 square foot garages. And so
Yeah.
like the run to the sun over there is like a hot rodder's dream, right? And so there's a million hot rod shops over there. So my dad, he went and did the interior of that thing. And it looks like a bone stock SS Chevelle from '66, but instead of it being Naugahyde, everything is Italian leather. I mean, he spent some bank on that thing, and I was like, "Damn, Dad, that car is beautiful," but the body was kind of crap. And I'm like, "Well, that's still a nice car, right?" So skip forward a couple years. I bought. Me and my dad would like always go back and forth. He had a side by side that I bought from him that he wasn't using anymore, and um, he shows up at my house one day in Reno with a car hauler trailer, and he was like, "I'm here to pick up the side by side. I'm taking it with me." And I go, "For how long?" He goes, "Well, I'm keeping it." And I go, "The math doesn't add up because I just paid you off for the thing. What are you talking about?" And he goes, "Well, you're going to come over to my house and get the Chevelle," because he had been talking about selling the Chevelle. And I'm like, "Dude, you're not selling that car. I'll buy it." Well, when the side by side all of a sudden wasn't so sexy, and I'm like, "Okay, deal," you know. So the money I'd given him for the side by side went towards the car, and I paid him off. It took me a couple of years to pay him for that car, right? But it's still got a smoking deal. So I've had it 11 years. Well, my buddy Jack, who works up here at the mine, is a world class painter. He's a hot rod builder, and my wife last year and a half ago says, "You've been wanting to redo that car, right?" And I go, "Well, yeah, I want to paint it." And she goes, "Well, I'm going to take care of it." And so she got with Jack, and we completely stripped that thing, and dude, that thing is laser straight as a show car. I brought it home and I parked it. I haven't taken it out, and I bought it home around Christmas. I'm well, one, I've been so busy, but two, I mean, the thing is just a work of art. You could shave in the mirror. He laid like 15 coats of clear on that thing. It's just no bond. He took like 30 pounds of Bondo out of the paint of that car, the body of that car. It's laser straight. It was all pounded out metal work, just made minor skim coats, but absolute beautiful car. And I'm hoping someday we can maybe use it for like a whiskey throttle shoot with some, I don't know, hot rods bike. Maybe Ping and RJ are buddies, right? Maybe go hop in the car and film something cruising down PCH with RJ and Ping, you know, shooting the shit and just doing burnouts. But that thing runs like a raped ape, and I'm not afraid to put the hammer down on it. You know, I think that we could make some good content because you know, I don't care who you are, man. If you like dirt bikes, you like high horsepower hot rods,
Yeah.
right? You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
somebody's pounding out 600 horsepower. You're like, that was badass, you know. So we might work some of that into the whiskey throttle once in a while, but just haven't had time. But yeah, now you got me off on a tangent talking hot rods. But yeah,
That's all
I
right.
love that thing. I lift up the cover every once in a while, look at it, and, yeah, hi baby, I'll fire her up. And but that and dirt bikes, man. Those two things get me fired. It was hot rods and dirt bikes, man.
Yeah, because
So
I remember you posted a picture of at one stage of one of your bikes, and I could see the wheels under the cover,
the
like half
torque
a
thrust.
wheel under the cover, and
Yeah.
I'm looking and I'm like, what's under that cover? You know, so I had to go scrolling back to pictures of the Chevelle. So yeah,
Yeah.
I had to figure it out. And I'm like,
I
oh,
put a
that was under
background
the
up when
cover.
we do our podcast because I just don't want the car in the shot,
Yeah,
right? You
yeah,
know, There's also a big sign hanging in my garage that says nothing on this property is worth losing your life over, you know? And
Yeah,
that car is one of them. You could take the bikes before you touch that car, but
yeah, yeah,
yeah, I will ventilate a son of a bitch over that car real quick and not have any remorse.
yeah, yeah.
But
You guys have a lot of security. Like I know a lot of my mates, all their houses have got security cameras and shit, like ring cameras and all that sort of stuff over there. Yeah, like it's
no, I've
funny,
got
man.
Smith and Wesson.
Yeah, it's funny, man. Like we we don't realize how lucky we are sometimes with just how like low crime is and how like just I think I live in like the safest fucking place in the world. Apart from some of the things that will bite you and kill you, we've
Oh,
got
everything in
those.
Australia is trying to stab you or stick you or kill you, right?
We got critters that want to kill you, but as far as crime and people and all that sort of thing, it's pretty fucking pretty amazing how safe it is here. Really, we don't even like the talk to some mates and they've all got they. I've never had any sort of security footage camera or anything on a house or on my
Yeah.
shed or
I mean,
anything.
I live in a pretty nice place, but still, I mean, my buddy Scott, who lives a couple blocks over, he worked for Fox Racing forever. Uh, New Year's Eve, they had some drinks, and he just forgot to shut his garage door. Came out, and his Husky 501 was stolen, out of the
Yeah,
garage. And it's like, if I would have caught you, you would have been staring down the barrel of my gun, dude. I
yeah,
don't play
yeah.
that. No, that's mine. I work for it. If you want to take it from me, you're gonna fight me for it, or you're gonna have a. I just that's that. I don't. That's just the way I am. I don't care. I don't make no apologies for it. I'll bust your ass. You steal my shit.
Fair enough too, man. Fair enough too. Yeah, like we don't have handguns, man, but we a lot of people like it's the narrative
Hey,
of
when
a
you come over,
yeah.
dude. When you come over, we'll
Oh, I'd
go.
love to. Yeah,
We'll go have a good
I'd love to.
time.
The
Uh,
the narrative of Australia doesn't have guns is wrong. It's really wrong. They use us as a I don't want to get political, but they use us as a template of look how Australia's got heaps of guns, just not handguns like rifles and shotguns, man, like shit loads of them.
yeah.
I've got a gun license. Every bloke in the country's got a gun license, has got rifles and
I feel bad for
shotguns
the Canadians, dude. They're
and
the ones who
stuff
got it
like
the worst. The
yeah.
Canadians got it the worst. They have to file a permit to go hunting and say we're going to go this route at this time, and you can't even
Oh,
stop
is
and
it
get
that
gas.
bad? Yeah.
Oh, it's bad, dude. When I go up to Quebec, they're all, dude, do you got guns? And I'll show them my gun safe. They're like, you son of a bitch. They just see all the goodies and they're like, man, we can't have that up here. And I'm like, well, move to America, bro. I don't know, or vote those idiots out and vote some people in who are going to give you your gun rights back. I don't know, but
Yeah.
yeah, we like to keep it America around here. We have a good time.
Yeah, yeah. The only handguns is you can have here is basically there's sort of two reasons. If you've got a job that requires it, you're a high level security or police officer, um,
Yeah,
and or if you shoot competition. So I've got a mate who actually my local Honda dealer. He he's got pistols, and actually the pistol range is like really close to my house. But they have to shoot competitively to hold that, and they do, little competitions and that sort of thing. So I've got some scorecards. This is, we're competing. It's a sport, and then they get the permit to have them, but they've got to have them. Everything's got to be super locked up and all that. So, like as far as intruders and that go here, you'd have to, run to where your gun safe is bolted to the floor, um, put in the code, get that out, open the other safe where the ammunition is, and then load the gun. By this time,
oh wow, you have to keep the ammunition
yeah,
separate in
in a
Australia.
separate safe, in a separate locked container or safe. So it's so there's not really much use for intruders. If you're doing it legally, and I'm sure
Hey,
there's
a good old baseball bat by the front door does wonders.
dude a pick handle is always I've got a pick handle by the bed, same as my dad did, and neither of us have ever had to use it. But I've
Thank
always got
God.
I got one by the bed and one by the front door and one close to the back door. Pick handle,
Well,
just that
I've
nice
got
sort
my
of weight.
wife and I've got my wife, and I nicknamed her the Colonel. If you ever met her, you'd know I don't worry about shit. I'll just sick Jenny on you. She doesn't take shit from anybody, including me. You ask anybody, I run around, blah 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 blah. My wife comes around, yes, listen, yes, ma'am. I don't mess with her. No, I feel
That's
bad for any
good.
man who ever tries. Good luck, bud.
Yeah,
You're
yeah, no,
screwed.
that's good, man. That's good. Yeah, how many kids you got, man?
None, man.
Oh,
Nah,
no kids yet.
we didn't get married till we were 40, and just it didn't work out. So
Yeah.
I think one of my favorite things is Ping's got two daughters who are, in high school, and one of my favorite things is I was like, I always loved Married with Children and Al Bundy when he'd grab the boyfriends and walk them into the door jam. And dude, I give those girls' boyfriends hell. I mean, Ping will
Yeah.
just be like, Amber's like, Jesus, Jeff. And I'm like, dude, I know what you're up to. And I told one of them, anything you do to them, I'm going to do to you. And he was just, I definitely, I definitely let him know that there's a line. If you cross it, I'm not afraid to dig a hole.
Uncle
So
Jeff. Uncle
Dave's over
Jeff.
here. Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's fun scaring the shit out of some
Yeah, yeah,
dipshit 16-year-old kid with one thing on his mind. We were all
yeah.
there at one
Oh,
point,
yeah, you know
So
exactly what they're thinking. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
so I know what's up, and I'm like, oh, this is great, dude. I'm just having a field day with this, and David's over here. Oh Jesus, Jeff, come on, So it's funny, but nah, no kids. Got a couple nephews of my own, and I buy them dirt bikes and stuff like that. They grease Uncle Jeff every time there's a football fundraiser or baseball fundraiser, but it's all good. I dig it. I wish I saw them more, but yeah, no children, just a bunch of moto heads running around.
Cool, man. Cool, cool. Hey, what's on your bucket list, man? So it's a hard question.
I
Maybe like your moto bucket list. Is there a
My moto
race you
bucket
haven't been
list.
to, or
Well, I almost had Redbud this year. I had my tickets booked. I was going,
oh, that's right.
and
Yeah.
yeah, the mine called and said, "Hey, we need you here Monday morning." And I looked at the logistics, and I had to just run myself into the ground trying to get up here, and I got to take care of the client. And this is not the place to have your head up your ass or be tired. You'll get killed, right? So,
Mm.
I had to bail out of Redbud. So Redbud's one of them. Motocross to Nations. Uh, I have quite a few bucket lists. Probably one of the coolest things I ever did that probably could be my bucket list if I never did anything motos. Last year, I went to Farley Castle with Ping and Fro. We flew over there together, and me and Fro flew business class, and Ping got stuck literally next to the shitter and coach. And so we get off the plane in the morning. We've slept. We've had bacon and eggs for breakfast. Ping ate something like was rubbery, a rubber sandwich. He's just disheveled looking. And so, Emming's a smart ass. Yeah, I love that
Yeah,
guy.
yeah.
We're sitting there egging him on like, weren't those little towelettes and all the lotion and everything just great? And Ping's in the back like, you guys, But we get over to Farley, and Farley, if you ever go to England and you can go to Farley Castle, Jamie Dodd puts that on. He is probably one of the nicest people I've ever met in moto. Him and his family, they're just genuinely good people, and so they treated us like kings, right? We had this little compound, and so me and Ping had an RV. Uh, Reed had an RV. Fro had his RV. Mike Brown was over there. Kurt Nickel and Daub. And I'm just sitting there, and I'm like, it was one of those things, kind of again a Forrest Gump moment. I'm like, I'm sitting here at Farley Castle. The track literally runs down the jousting lanes. Where people, a
Oh,
thousand
really?
years ago sat there and watched the
Yeah.
night. Yeah. If you look at vintage photos of or footage of Farley where they come down the three step downs, that
Mm.
was the benches that everybody sat on to watch the knights joust. And when they get to the bottom and turn right along the pond,
Yeah.
that was the jousting lane.
How
So,
cool is
you
that?
know,
The
yeah,
history,
and
man.
so yeah, and the castle's right across the street. Ping did a show with Graham Noyce, and so I'm touring around the country with Jeff Emig. We're just cruising around England, looking at all this shit, going to castles. I'm like, how the fuck did I end up in this situation, running around with Fro? And he didn't cool guy me or nothing. I kind of knew him before that, but yeah, I was just like, how the hell am I sitting here with Reedy and Fro and Mike Brown and just and all goes back to kind of ping, but that was kind of a bucket list thing. I don't know if I could top that, even going to Donations or Redbud or whatever like that. Just I would love to do a trip around the world with like a bunch of moto heads and do something like that. Go maybe not go by myself, and maybe go to Europe and see the Donations with like my boys from the moto industry here. Go with Ping, go with some of the guys, go with Fro. Again, just do something like that. I think that would be kind of cool because you could. Ryan Hughes would be the one who would be the bucket list because that guy's like the redneck hippie moto guru, and everybody thinks he's
Yeah.
crazy, but he's crazy like a fox, right? And but
Mm.
uh, I would like to go to a European race with him and just sit there and listen to him break it down. He was three sheets to the wind a couple years ago, Paul, and I'm standing next to him and Troy and Dave, and we're watching the race, and he smacks me and goes, "Hey, Tomac's and Chase are gonna be ahead by 30 seconds." I'm like, all right, I take your word for it, bro. And then like a lap later, smacks me again. He goes, no, 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 I take that back. 1 minute. They're gonna win by a minute. Son of a bitch if they did. Right. So I think that would be fun to go travel to some big race with some guys like that, but especially him, because I would just latch onto him and just I would eat up everything he's saying because the dude's on it, dude. He's smart,
Mm.
right? And I'm sure after the race we'd go tie one on and have a good time and either end up in jail or have some great war stories to tell. But yeah, I mean that would kind of be my bucket list kind of shit to do.
Yeah, I
Probably
reckon.
like you coming over to Anaheim one had to be one of your bucket
Oh,
lists, right? And
yeah,
hanging out with DB.
it was
Yeah,
fucking incredible, man.
you'll
Like it
never
was.
forget that night, right? Yeah,
No, man, no. No, like after the like the on the Saturday night, we all met up. Oh, not all of us, but a few of us met up back at the hotel, and we went up and we did a post race podcast with it was just it's me and DB and Joe and Toolman Dan just kicking back in their room recording a podcast about Anaheim One. And
yeah,
I spoke about it on that show, man. How it was just fucking
surreal.
unbelievable because they got me to tell a bit of my story on that show too. Like after we
Yeah,
spoke about the race, DB was like, "Remind me, like, how do we know you? How did this happen? You know, how are you our friend now?" And I sort of
yeah,
went over some of it and that sort of thing, and then I wrote an article for Main Event as well. Like I actually just started, writing articles for Main Event again now as an ongoing thing. But and a bit of my just a brief of my life story and the Californian trip and all that sort of thing. And and honestly, like I said on that show, like after the birth of my kids, that was the best day of my life. Like I just couldn't believe it,
your
like.
wife's like, "Hey, wait a minute. What about me, numbnuts?"
Yeah, oh yeah, that was better say my
You're up.
wedding as well,
Yeah, you better throw that in there. I just
Yeah,
saved you,
yeah,
bro. You got
yeah,
to
yeah,
count with
yeah.
one.
And
Yeah. So
like I was lost for words when we first walked into the stadium, and I reckon that's maybe the second or third time in my life that's happened. Like we walk
there's
into
something
this,
about Anaheim, isn't there?
yeah, we
That
walked
place just
in,
on race day.
yeah, and we're walking up the steps, and I was with three friends, and one of them asked me like, "Steve, how do you feel?" And I was fucked. I was like going, oh, I didn't have words, and that doesn't happen to me. Obviously, I'm a
Yeah.
good talker. That's
Yeah.
why I have a podcast. But yeah, man, that was amazing. We walked up the stairs, and like the first person I see is Mitch Payton sitting there watching practice.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, like, yeah, you got to pinch yourself a lot of times, man. So
Dude,
that was,
that's how I felt where I got my credential this year. And me and Dave, we walked down and we watched the main from the floor of Anaheim. And I did watch the race and I was taking some clips, but the whole time I was just like, so this is what this is like, it just holy shit, this is awesome, and just the race is so much different from down on the floor. And when those bikes are coming by you, I don't care if you're in front row seats in the stands, when you're down on that track and you're 6 foot from Tomac, going by you mock Jesus. Oh, dude, you feel alive, dude. That's insane. So
Yeah.
hopefully one day you get to experience something like that, man.
Yeah, it's I can imagine it a little bit because just another little story when I was so what I wanted to do, I was only in California for like a week. And what I wanted to do the days after um, the race is because I hired it's another funny story. It was I don't talk too long, but yeah, I hired this shitty van, this old Dodge van, right? While I was over there, which is a funny story in itself. But anyway, I jumped in my Dodge and I just went driving to see things I wanted to see. And one of the things I wanted to see was the town of Elsinore because I'm a massive On Any Sunday fan, right? So
Yeah.
I wanted to go to Elsinore. And I went to Elsinore, got some Mexican food, and like everything has a story behind it. But then I went out to Lake Elsinore, the track, and I'd looked it up. It was closed that day, but I thought, well, I just want to. I'll drive around. I'll have a look over the fence. I did the same thing on the way there. I was looking over the fence at Paris, just like, yeah, this is still, whatever. Took a photo and I go to Elsinore. Anyway, as I'm getting closer, I can hear bikes as I'm coming down that little road on the way in. And I'm like, oh, cool. It's probably like the owner's kid cutting some laps or something because the track's closed today. And as I get closer, the gate's like half open. So being the type of guy I am, I just fucking drive in and there's a fucking pro practice day going on there. So I just wheel on in, grab my camera out and go walking around and yeah, so I was, and Anderson was there, Ferrandis, Faulkner, like a heap of guys, and yeah.
Was it Supercross or were they on the main
moto track?
They
were practicing the Soupy on the practice track.
Oh, so they were right there, right when you come in the gate.
Yeah, right there when you come in the gate. But there's like big trees there. And as I'm driving in, I can hear, and I'm like, sounds like a fair few bikes. And then I think it was Schwartz. It was one of the Bar X bikes goes flying over the top of the trees. And then the next minute, a PC bike goes flying over the top of the trees. And I'm like, wow, I've stumbled across something here, So I spent the morning there, talking to people. And
nobody gave you any shit about it at all?
No, man. Nah, I just waved at the chick on the way in. Dylan Ferrandis followed me in his big fucking Toyota truck, and I parked the shitty.
Like you owned it, right?
Parked the shitty Dodge there, grabbed my camera out, and got into it. And I didn't. I'm not the sort of guy. I don't like bugging people too much when they're working. But when they sort of had a break to water the track, I talked to a few people then, and I took videos and photos. But standing right next to the track as some of them guys were going past, because like a practice track, you're like standing like right there, and that was amazing, and just on a practice day, man. So I can't, I guess I can imagine
just a hair more intense,
a little bit. I can imagine a little bit of what the race day from the floor would be like.
Gets your heart pumping when you're at Pollard's test track or at Elsinore or out at what the hell's the one out in Hemet? You're right there, dude. I mean, use your best judgment and don't piss the rider off. But I've had Justin Hill come by me, filming a shot of him hitting a big bolt turn and Hemet, and on purpose. And he came about a foot from my camera lens, and you're like, ooh, ooh, that's sketchy, But make you feel alive, dude.
Yeah, man, it is super cool, man. Yeah, it was a funny trip. Funny, interesting stuff. Just I'm like a fucking magnet for it, man. When I go somewhere, I do something like it's just my life, man. Like if I
see
go
quite a few meth labs too when you went down by Elsinore.
If I go on an adventure, man, the adventure fucking happens. Like I find it, shit like that just happens to me, wherever I go, there's always a story attached to whatever I do. It's a funny thing about my life, man. But yeah, that was one of them, man. That was a great thing to stumble across, man. It was awesome, man. Dude, we're going a couple of hours, man. I don't want to keep you.
Keep you on 2 hours already.
Don't want to keep you too long, man. So
it's all good.
What else? What other question? Oh, here's a question I've got to ask you, man. This is one of my favorites. Dude, who was your teenage crush, man? So my teenage crush. So whose poster was on the wall, man? Like, so for me, it was Kelly Bundy, man. You mentioned Married with Children earlier on, so Kelly Bundy was the one for me, man. What about yourself?
Who was in the Spank Bank when I was 16? Let's see here. Kelly Bundy would have probably been up there. Yeah, that was probably a pretty good one. Pamela Anderson before
Tammy,
she
yeah,
got
yeah.
ran through by everybody in Hollywood. Yeah, she was pretty hot. Yeah, I dug her. Shit. That was about shit. I don't know whoever was Miss Budweiser or whatever back in the day at the race. You know, pretty any hot blonde with nice tits. That was the girl. You know, that I ran across. That was my deal.
That's it, man. That's it. That's cool. Yeah, it's some funny answers out of that one. Yeah, especially some of the older guys, some of the old boys, they'll be talking, Farrah Fawcett and Daisy Duke and all these sort of things they'll get talking about.
Hey,
Some of
Heather
the older
Thomas,
guys.
she was hot, man. That was the first hot blonde. I think that's why I married a
Heather
good looking blonde.
Heather
Heather
Thomas.
Thomas.
What was
She was
she
on
in?
the Fall Guy.
Okay. Yeah.
She was hot, dude, in the 80s. Yeah, Google her from the 80s, dude. She was hotter than shit, dude. But
Heather
yeah, probably
Thomas.
reason why I married a little good looking beach blonde, man. Yeah, I was like, yeah, I like them blondes, dude. Yeah, I'll have one of those, please. Yeah, take one of those. Yeah.
Awesome,
So,
man. Awesome, man. What about I always ask people, man, what sort of music are you into, man?
everything, dude.
Yeah.
Country, rap, punk rock. Really like punk rock. Some metal. Really like Pantera. Uh, I was bummed when Dime died and then Vinny died. That sucks. I actually just went and saw. My wife likes Metallica, so we went to a SoFi Stadium where the Rams play, that new place in LA, and we saw Metallica, but Pantera opened for them, and I was more excited to see Pantera. Zach Wild was playing guitar, so Zach's the only guy who could fill in for Dime. Anybody else, I wouldn't even have went to the show if it was somebody else playing guitar, but Zach could fill in for Dime, and I forget who the hell the drummer was. I didn't give a shit, but it was pretty cool to see Pantera again. But I saw them several times live in my 20s when they were all together. And you want to talk about a pit? The whole floor of the stadium was a pit, and
Yeah.
I'd like to think I can handle myself. And I went through that pit a couple times. I'm like, fuck that, dude. I'm out. uh, that's a whole nother level of nuts, dude.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I mean, shit on reggae, whatever. If it's good music, I'll listen to it. Jazz, I don't give a shit. But
Yeah.
um, that new shit that's out though now, all that shit the kids listen to, mumble rap and all that. I
Mm.
was like, dude, just I want to put them all on a bus and like give them the O'Doyle's Rules treatment and watch them drive off a cliff. Like, fuck
Yeah,
you,
man.
man. I can't stand that music, but dude, those guys are all so talented, and I played a little guitar when I was younger, and it just now I'm not good at it at all. Hell, I can even remember how to play probably if I tried now, but just any music, any good music brings out just something in you and get you going, right? Whether it's sad, happy, or kick your ass. When I'd go riding, I used to just I'd put in, you know, uh, Cowboys from Hell or something like that on in my truck and just blare that when I go riding. By the time I was there, I thought I was Jeremy frickin' McGrath when I got on the bike going 7 miles an hour down the road. But I was pumped up. I was ready. I was ready to get something at 7 miles an hour, right? But that would get
That's
me
it.
fired up, and then
Yeah.
back in the day when I could partake in a little dubage, I'd enjoy a little Bob Marley, So
Yeah. Nah, cool, man. Yeah, similar, man. The my music taste is varied a lot. But yeah, there's got to be a level of skill and talent involved in it, not
yeah.
just fucking garbage.
Listen to
Like,
Whiskey Throttle. Listen to all the cuts I put on Whiskey Throttle. Dave gets so mad at me. He does not like heavy metal. He'll get on my ass if I put some Pantera on or something. But like he'll let me bump a little, some opening riffs. But if it's he'll be like, dude, change that shit, But if you want to hear my music tape, just go look at the last couple 6 months of Whiskey Throttle's reels. That's pretty much all me.
yeah, I love it when one of the young riders does an edit and they have some old music. I'm like, fuck yeah, like like that's the shit. Dad probably picked it, but I fucking love it anyway because there's so many of the edits that you get, insta bangers from the young riders, young moto guys, and it's just that same sort of shit that you just hear all the time, and it's just like, dude, yeah, get your dad to pick the music, So
You know who the one I hate to admit, but I just didn't want to like because I'm old and crotchety, but I'm starting to have respect for him now is Post Malone.
okay, yeah, I'm probably a little bit the same, yeah,
Yeah, not a huge fan, but like just kind of do. I just like his attitude.
yeah, and he
Um,
is very talented, man. That's what,
yeah. I didn't like
yeah,
his music. Like when he first came out, I'm like, dude, I'd punch that guy, But now he's just one. He just seems like a genuinely good guy. But his talent level, how he's kind of messing with country and whatever else he's
mm.
doing, takes a lot of talent, dude. So and I'm like, I'll be jamming down the road, listening to that new song he's got out. I'm like, fuck it, whatever, and I rock out to it a little bit. But yeah, that's about as far as I go towards that generation. And the rest of it, I'm like, turn that shit off. Nate gets in my truck. I'm on, no, that don't get no play, dog.
Yeah, no,
Nate's always
that's right.
listening to Main Event Moto anyway, man. And we would get in the truck to go down to Ping's. Ping lives like an hour from us, and we'll head down there to go to the track to go film. And have Main Event Moto on, and then we just start bench racing. And he gets so frustrated because they'll be wanting to listen to Main Event Moto, and I'll be like, "Oh, hey, what do you want to do about the shot or whatever?" I drive him up the wall, but usually it's Moto Podcast or whatever,
Mm. Yeah,
you
cool,
know.
man.
And I hate to admit it, but I listen to everything from Cooksey because it's just like, what's that guy gonna say? He cracks me up, dude. That guy's hell on wheels, man. So
Yeah.
I
I
listen to
haven't I
everything.
haven't
I
listened
don't
to
care.
Cooksey. I got some mates that listen to Cooksey, and but yeah, man, no,
Some of the things
I
he
don't.
says sometimes I kind of agree, and the other things I'm like, what the fuck, But hey, teach his own, right? He does his
Yeah,
thing,
yeah,
and
yeah,
he owns his little deal. But I kind of listen to everything he says because I listen to everything moto related. I try to listen to every podcast I can
yeah.
from that dude to now I'm gonna start following you. It's like fuck, I'm not gonna have any time to
It's hard
listen
to.
to
It's
anything else.
hard. Like, yeah, there's
Yeah,
you can't listen to all of them, man. It's hard. Like, there's
yeah.
so
I
many.
I when I get on the road trips, like it's weird, and I feel bad until Dave this. I go, man, I can't tell you the last time I listened to a Whiskey Throttle show, and I know they're good, but it's just so weird. I'm like sitting there listening to Dave going down the road, and I go, this is kind of fucking weird for me. You know what I mean? I don't know. I listened to the Wardy show.
Mm.
That was a banger. We got a couple good ones coming out too. We just did one with Mike Young. He's with Road to Recovery. That's gonna drop, I think, tomorrow. That'll be a good show. We got some pretty good bangers coming up. We're gonna have Bo Manley. You see, we're doing that deal with Bo with called Hang Time. Have you seen that little deal we're doing? So we're
No,
gonna have Bo on. You haven't seen it?
nah.
It's on our YouTube. So Bo was Metal Militia,
Oh,
Twitch
I
sent me
have
all
seen a
those.
little bit of it. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, so we've been we got a thing going with Bo. We did an episode with Raw. We did a episode with Jared McNeil for all you boys down there. Cool as hell. We went out to the McNeil compound filming him. That guy's just he's golden. Did one with Patrick Evans. That was sick. We're at Matto's house. Filming Patrick Evans and Matto getting ready for for X Games. Matto's throwing backflips and just sick whips and all that shit. And I'm like, man, this is cool as hell. We got Met's Husky 450. He's out there running around with
That's the clip I
Raw.
saw. I saw the Metzger clip. Yeah.
Oh, dude, yeah. So
Yeah.
for you guys, real quick, if you've seen Raha is at Rawville hitting that ramp, me and Nate crawled up on top of those containers and filmed Mets and Jason Borowski hitting the normal X Games ramp, and then there's the big mega ramp that was from on the Pipe 7 that used to be out at Paula. That it's like half of a skyscraper, and Raha hit that on his Stark, and I'm just like, Jesus. I mean, he was probably 70 feet in the air. It was bigger than his world record jump, but the world record jumps on that X Games ramp or whatever that they use. That thing is absolutely dwarfed by that mega ramp that Raw has, and just standing up there filming that, I'm like, holy shit! But like Matt's out there ripping, I'm like, dude, how am I doing that? Dude, this is sick. I'm out here watching Mike. I'm filming Mike Meister, and it's just me and Raw's homies out there and Nate. Like
Mm.
there's probably 10 people out there, and I'm like. This is sick, dude. This is why I do it. That's why I drive 2 hours through LA traffic to come out of the desert on a hot, shitty, windy day out in the middle of nowhere. Because I get to do that kind of crap, and just rad. And Metzger, man, I hope you get a chance sometime to talk to Mike. He's one of the coolest, most interesting people you ever talk to. So uh, you need to get
Yeah,
that boy
yeah.
on. We need to get Ping lined up with you. It'd be a good conversation.
Yeah, it would be. Yeah, yeah. I probably have messaged him at some stage. I'm not scared to message like anyone and see if they'll answer. So yeah, he
Yeah,
might
I
have a
told him I was
message
coming
there.
on here today, so I
Yeah,
know
yeah,
he'll definitely check it out. So yeah, we'll have
yeah.
to see if we get old Ping lined up with you.
Cool, man. It's interesting you mentioned Jared McNeil, man. He's going to come on the show at some stage, just when we could line it up. That he grew up same place as I. He grew up where I am right now. He grew up the same place I grew up. So,
Where,
but
where, where are you at in
it's
Australia?
funny. So Northern Victoria. So
Okay.
so the northern part of the state that Melbourne is the capital of. So
Okay.
and yeah, Jared. But it's funny. We completely missed each other because I grew up here and then moved and went to the city and moved around and all that, and then then he's grown up here and then he's moved away and now I'm back here. So we never lived here at the same time, but we both grew up in the same place. And the
Oh, that'll be a good. I can't wait to see that show.
it'll be interesting
It's
because
interesting.
the little area, there's this area that we call the sand pit. That's sort of the first place. I remember him talking to someone out on another show where he mentioned the sand pit, and I thought that's fucking so funny because like I used to live out there as a kid as well. That's the first place where I was learnt to do jumps, and not nothing even as like in a quarter as much as what he would have been doing out there. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's just this spot where they use, because it's very flat here, but there's a spot where there's this big sand pit where they used to basically mine sand out of for
A
I
good
think they
quarry.
used it. I think it was the sand they used to build roads with.
Yeah.
And to build road base with the sand sets very hard. And so there's this big hole in the ground, and where there's a hole, there's jumps. So that's where we used to go, and we'd cut natural terrain, some pretty cool natural terrain motocross tracks into it, and that sort of thing. And that's sort of all we had. And it'll be funny to talk to him about his days riding out the pit, and then now look at him. So it'll be a fun show when we get to that
Yeah,
one. Yeah,
he's a cool cat, man, and
he is. Yeah, yeah.
he just super genuine, just super nice, and I like that he's sticking to his own. He's got his compound out there east of Temecula, and he's got a lot of his buddies from Australia that come over, and it's kind of like a home base for the Aussies to go. And just if you ever get a chance, like if you have him on, and if he ever extends the invite for you to go check out the McNeil farm, go. That
Yeah,
place
oh, for
is like
sure. Yeah.
Disneyland for free riding. It's cool.
It's funny, man. Like it's like where I live. So my surname's Hall. There's a lot of Halls here, and there's a lot of McNeils around as well. It's just like like my wife worked with Jared's cousin a while back, and he's like, it's a small world, man. It's a very small world,
Is
you
it a
know.
small area where you're from?
Yeah. It's a small town. Yeah, so where it's about 4,000 people,
Oh
and we're
shit! Yeah, you gotta know
we're
everybody.
where Jared first grew up was a sort of tiny little town that's just north of here where he would have went to school and that. And it's probably, oh geez, that place is probably like, wouldn't be, it'd be maybe 500 people, where their farm was, and then his parents moved another couple of hours north when he was sort of a teenager and that sort of thing. Yeah, they moved it, and his dad bought a bike shop and that sort of thing. Yeah, down a couple of hours north, but yeah,
I'll have to tune in for that one. That'll be a good chat.
it's a funny thing. Yeah, man. Yeah, and because I remember he came home one day and everyone's talking about Jared McNeil is from he's coming home to Kerrang where I live, and I was like, what? What, like, who is this kid? Because I totally missed him junior racing here or anything like that. Like I just totally missed him. And then I sort of like, oh, he's over there doing that now, and he grew up here, and I put all the dots together, and and that sort of thing. Yeah, so it's it will be a fun show for sure, man.
Hey, you ought to reach out to Reed, dude. Man, that guy loves bench racing, dude. I bet he'd
Yeah,
hop on too, dude. That guy, man, his knowledge of the sport. I don't know if you ever watched the 3-part thing that Ping did with him on Whiskey Throttle, but we had to do 3 episodes with with him to get through his story, and we still could have done another couple, but. I bet you Reedy'd hop on, dude. He loves to talk moto, dude. And that
yeah, man.
guy,
No,
that
that'd
guy's
be
all
amazing,
about it.
man.
He's a
Like
lifer. Yeah.
the impact that he had down here, man, was just it was fucking unbelievable. And I'm sure he's heard that. He would have heard that from lots of people, lots of times. But yeah, the impact was amazing. It really was, and it's happening again now with the Lawrence brothers. The
I
impact.
actually I have a cool story about Reed. His last season when he did that Chad Reed VIP thing, I wasn't working with Risky Throttle. I mean, I was just an acquaintance with Ping at the time, right? And so I went and did that Chad Reed VIP thing at Glendale Supercross, and man, that was rad. I got to sit on his bike, and Dan, the guy who kind of runs the Lawrence's compound, in their VIP deal, he was kind of Chad's team manager, and so I went by myself. So everybody who was there was with their like wife and kids. So I was just kind of doing my own thing there, shooting the shit and talking to Dan and the mechanic, and just you're kind of part of the team. Stay out of the way, but you get to watch everything, and you're in the paddock and go do track walk with them. Well, before it was a Triple Crown event, and it was before one of the LCQs, and I think everybody was up at the press box, but I wanted to go back down and kind of watch before the race, kind of deal. And I see Dan kind of frantic and the mechanic kind of frantic, and there was a Honda 450 sitting off to the side, all in the livery for Chad's race bike, but it was just a stock bike. And see Dan like frantically getting into it. Well, I like working on bikes. So I go there, what's up? And he's like, hey, grab this. And we're like ripping this Honda apart to get some stupid like relay out of it that was screwed up on Chad's bike that he needed to get to make the LCQ. And like, so I helped Dan rip this bike apart, and I'm just a fan, but I paid good money to be there. That was not a cheap event. And I'm over there ripping this Honda apart, having a field day. I'm well, this is the coolest thing in the whole goddamn thing is I helped Chad get the part
Yeah.
for his
Oh
bike
yeah.
so he can make the main that night, so I really
Yeah.
felt like I was part of the team that night. So I helped Chad make one of his last main events, so that
Yeah,
was
man.
kind
Yeah.
of one of those little things that was pretty sick. But yeah, Reedy was cool, man. I think that was cool that he wasn't like that through his whole career, and I think as he got older and got out that
Yeah.
doing that VIP tour, he wanted to get back to the fans, and you see how he is now, and like just that little bit of time I spent with him in England, man, and I got a lot of respect for that dude. He's very, very good for the sport, and I hope he chooses to stay around for a long time.
Yeah, I think he will, man. Now, especially because if he's young bloke and his daughter's right into it. I
Dude,
can
she
see her,
rips.
I
She
can see
smoked
her
me.
being, especially with the like I've been trying to get female guests on. Like I had JP Money on, and I'm trying to I got some female guests lined up. Especially with the women's motocross cranking back up. And I think that's fucking really cool and yeah, I can see Reedy's daughter having a future in that
She's
if
a
that keeps
ripper.
going. Yeah, so it's which is cool, and yeah, and obviously his young bloke's going pretty well. So a lot of pressure on a kid with a name though too. I feel sorry for him. Same as even
With
like
Reed across the back in a 22,
oh,
that's a
a lot of
heavy
pressure,
burden to bear.
and I just hope that he loves it and he has fun and he does as well as he can and doesn't worry about the pressure, man, because he doesn't have to be his dad, but I'm sure some days he feels like he has to be. We'll just same as like Liam Everts, man. Imagine Liam Everts, like
Third
your
generation,
your
not even
granddad.
second, third. Yeah.
It's like if Liam doesn't get a world championship, he'll
He's
feel
got to change
like
his last name.
yeah, like the poor bugger, like I think what would dad had 4 and I mean granddad had 4 and dad had 10, like shit.
Yeah. There's
It's
some big shoes to fill over there.
you can't, it's just incredible, man. So yeah, they tough tough for them, but then they also have a great teacher and a great resources and that sort of thing. So they've got like Deegs, man, That's it. Yeah, Deegs doesn't have to win a bunch of titles, but he's got to at least get one to cover Dad, and he's got to do a you know he's got to ghost the bike properly though. The one he did wasn't quite up to scratch. He's got to do a full
No,
ghost.
I was
He's
there
got to
that
do a
night, and I'm like,
full ghost.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean
I appreciate it, but
yeah,
yeah, that we were all expecting him to huck that
the
thing. You know,
full
I,
the
I
full
kind of
send.
got
Yeah,
way back, and I didn't even film that part because I was more worried. I was worried about some bike just coming and weeding me out, right?
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
and so I was like, yeah, well, I could take it. I'm good with it, but also he
yeah.
probably got a very stiff warning
Oh,
about doing that.
they would have, and then the other thing, he's got to roll the shoulder spikes out at some stage, even if it's for
Oh,
a
for press day.
even if
Oh,
it's for a
that'd be
press
so good.
day or for a like a an off season event, or I don't know. He's got to roll.
Just
I bet
full
they've
on
still,
militia.
especially if it's the same ones. I bet they've still got him hanging up somewhere. He's
Oh
got to
yeah,
roll.
dude,
He's
he's
got
got
to
to do
roll
the
them.
half face. He's got to do the open face helmet with obviously an unlit Marlboro like Brian did at X Games with the spikes, dude. He's got to do it.
Yeah,
That'd
yeah,
be a goat farm. You see Bobby Reagan out there going, "What the hell's that boy over there doing?" You know, that'd be
yeah, yeah.
funnier than shit though. That would break the internet.
That would be funny, man. That would be funny, man. Cool, man. Hey, two things I do to close the show, man. We better wind things down. The first thing, man, is give me your best Aussie accent.
Oh fuck, man.
I get that reaction a lot to that question.
Oh, you cunt. There, that's my best Aussie. I'd say cunt, you know. Yeah, I don't do an Aussie accent, dude.
You haven't
I
got
don't want to
one.
be I don't want to show up at immigration sometime down there. I remember watching you on Aussie Steve's podcast. Oh, get out. Go put him back on the plane. Go home. You know, no.
That's all right, man. That's all right. It's a
Yeah.
funny thing,
I
man.
tried
There's
doing an English accent one time when we were over there at Farley and Kurt Nichols all no. No, I'm like, all right, yeah, I got
yeah.
yes, sir.
I'm no good at accents either, man. But yeah, it's
No.
yeah. I'm no good at them. I just my own. So yeah, but it's a funny
Yeah.
thing. Sometimes you get people that are pretty good at it, you know. So it's a yeah, it's
No.
an interesting thing. One of my mates suggested that for the show, like real early days, and it's been good fun.
How was DB's?
DB, he's in the middle. In the middle, he's not too bad. Yeah, yeah.
Who
Kellen
was your
Brower,
best one?
Kellen Brower is the best one by far. Yeah,
Really, Kellen?
amazing. Like, yeah, legit. Like, yeah, really good. But
That's another
apparently,
media guy who flies under the radar. That's cool as shit.
yeah, yeah, he is cool as shit, man. Yeah, he's really cool dude. Yeah, he's going to come back on again at some stage. Actually, I've been reaching out to him. So
Yeah, that's another
yeah,
one who's like polar opposites from me, but we get along great,
yeah,
right?
good dude. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's
Like
funny,
you'd
man. Like,
expect Kellen to do your taxes and be like the upstanding guy, right? You know,
yeah,
and I'd
yeah.
be the one who'd get drunk and barf in your bushes, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's but it's cool, mate. Man, like cool part of the sport, like, and like Callum went to university to be a journalist. Like it's a polar opposite story to your story, man.
Yeah,
Like
he's gonna complete polar opposites, and he's
yeah,
kind of in a weird limbo right now. So I hope somebody's gonna pick him up. I mean, things will be
yeah. I don't
that.
know. I don't know the full story. I've seen some names change and labels change on his social media and stuff, and I'm not on the inside of exactly what he's up to, but he's a gunman, so he's going to do great no matter
He's a
what.
gamer, and
Yeah,
he's got a young kid, so he's gonna figure it out. He's got a family support, but he's really good at what he does, and he's
very
very
good.
professional. So somebody's gonna pick him up. They'd be stupid not to. If we had the
Yeah,
budget, I'd tell Dave to hire him just because he's like he's that guy, right? You could send
yeah,
him in to do like a real NBC style interview, and
yeah.
he's not going to be like me saying shit and all that on TV. Oop, I'd never get on race day live. I'd be, oh fuck yeah, I remember. Oops, I'd bomb that. Now I know, man has got to know his limits. But Kellen's the
Yeah,
guy you could send to sit
absolutely, you
down
could.
and
Yeah,
interview Dave Prater or somebody like
yeah.
that, right? He's one of those kind of level guys. So yeah, I really I dig that kid too. He's been super nice to me.
Yeah. That's it. Like how people treat you, hey? That's it, man. Like, and Callum was
Exactly.
on. Callum was on pretty early in my show too, and where I didn't. He would have come on the show when I didn't have any big numbers yet or anything like that, and he was just, yeah, cool, man. I'll come on for a chat, and
Yeah.
that means a lot to me. Anybody,
Everybody who's in moto media at some is a fanatic to some level or another, whether
yeah,
they admit it or not.
yeah, man, absolutely. Cool, man. And then the last thing I do on the show, I don't know if you've had a chance to watch any of my shows yet, man, but it's a funny thing. It's nothing serious, and it's not that good. But my outro music is I sing a little bit of Kenny Rogers, man, and I always say to people, man, if
The
you know
Gambler?
the Gambler, man. So if you're across the Gambler, I just knock out not the whole song, just a verse in the chorus of the Gambler. So if you're more than welcome to join in, man. So I'll just sneak
Oh
into it.
man, all right.
I'll
All
just
right, this
sneak
is
into
gonna
a
suck.
little bit of that. So I handed him my bottle, and he drank down my last
My
swallow.
last swallow.
Then he bummed a cigarette
Cigarette.
and asked
Nasty.
for a light.
Yeah.
And the night got deathly quiet, and his face lost all expression. Said, if you're gonna play the game, boy, you gotta
You
learn to
gotta
play
learn
it
to play
right.
it right.
You
You
got
got
to
to
know when to hold 'em, know when to fold 'em, know when
know
to
when
walk
to
away,
walk away, and know
know
when to
when to
run.
run. You
Yeah, there we
never
go.
count your money. When you're sitting at the table, there'll be time enough for counting.
When the dealing's done.
That's
There
it,
you go.
man.
That's the most thing you'll ever get out of me. Only person you got me to sing that. You clip that shit out of the show. He refused
Nah,
to sing.
man, nah, that's gold, man. I love it. I love it when people join in, man. So most people are like freak out and it's like I ain't singing, but yeah, sometimes people join in and it's
I'm not winning a beauty pageant or a singing contest, so screw it. Let's go for
no,
it.
that's it, man. I'm no professional singer, man, but I like singing, man, and it's a bit of fun. Like I'll basically the very first show, I forgot to plan any sort of an outro, and just before the show, I was like, fuck it, I'll just sing. What song do I know the words to? And it just made a funny thing. And the very first show was well, at the time, Jet Reynolds mechanic, the other Ryan Hughes, so the
Yeah,
real
yeah.
Ryan
Ryan
Hughes,
RH22.
RH22, he was, because he's a mate, and I was like, yeah, you good, comfortable first show, because he's a mate. If I fuck things up, he won't mind waiting until it start again and all that sort of stuff. And
Yeah.
he's got a cool story, man. He's a pro circuit mechanic, so he was the first one, and yeah, but he didn't know the words to the Gambler, but yeah, it was just a bit of a laugh. And then I thought, well,
Kids.
fuck it, let's just do it all the time now, and it's become another bit of funny thing. So people probably think it's weird, and they would be right because I am pretty weird.
Bro, you should have seen the look on his face at High Point. I was standing right there
Oh
when he rolled in, and man, dude, I could have
yeah,
hit him with a brick and it wouldn't have knocked the smile off his face. I was
yeah, man.
stoked for him. That was his
I
first win as a mechanic.
yeah. Man,
That's
I'm one of these guys where, like I say, I think there's actually something wrong with my eyes because I like never cry, and I was as close as you could possibly be to crying without crying when that happened. And I was, and it was mostly for RH22. I mean, Ty Masterpool's story is amazing as well, but just because
yeah.
it's my friend, and I know how hard it's been for RH22. How long he's been a mechanic and how many races he's actually got to because of the misfortune of Jet, and then he was Volan's mechanic and more misfortune, and he's just like he's been a pro circuit mechanic for so
At some
so
point, the
many
riders gonna
years,
be like,
and
"Who's
got
my
to
mechanic? I don't want to. I
and
see
got
what
to
all those
hardly
other
any
things."
races, and then finally, to get there and not just get the first podium, get the first win, because his best
Yeah.
before that was fourth.
And he
When
just got married too, didn't he?
he's getting married, yeah. So
Or
yeah,
getting married. So
he's
great year
engaged.
for him.
Yeah,
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 he's,
man.
he's a nice guy. He's real
He's
serious about his work, but he's super cool.
oh, he's super cool, man. He
You
is
know who's somebody else on the
super
PC team
solid.
that would be a good interview that you'd probably like? Do you know Jacob Martin?
No,
Seth's
who's
mechanic.
Oh, he's Seth's mechanic, is he? Okay, yeah,
Yeah,
cool.
he's got a really interesting story where he came from the goat farm and all that. And
Yeah,
he's a cool kid. I chat with him and Seth a lot. I consider them buddies. I really
yeah,
really like both of them. But he'd be a cool. He's got a very interesting story and very for a kid as young as he is, a hell of a work ethic. But
mm,
you ain't gonna be no chump and work for Mitch. So guys like Ryan and
yeah,
all those dudes, they've got to be top notch to work for Mitch Payton, or you're gonna be on your ass out the door.
yeah. That's
But
right. Yeah,
I'll line you up with I'll line you up with Seth. He's
yeah.
definitely a cool dude.
That'd be
And
great, man. Yeah, because I love talking to yeah, mechanics like I said to you, anyone that's got a cool story, man, and most people do have. So yeah,
yeah, he's
it's
got a really good story.
that's it, man. Jeff, thank you so much for your time, man. We've knocked out a long
Yeah, thank you.
episode, but that's okay.
No shit.
It's been good fun, man. And yeah, thank you very much for the show. And
Oh, I made a new buddy today, dude. I got two buddies in Australia, you and Ed.
absolutely, you do, man. And it's funny, man. Like most people I meet and have a chat to do end up being my friends. So it's just
I
how
know
I
you're on the
roll. And I
list,
think
bro.
I like to think that says something about the bloke I am. So
No,
and
man, you're dialed, man. I'm serious. You come over, man. We're going riding, dude. You come over and we'll take you out. We'll find a grass track or we'll go to the motocross track. We'll do whatever. Just don't show up in August because we ain't going riding. We'll go to the beach. But
yeah,
if you come over for Anaheim and we can coordinate it, man, we'd love to roll out some bikes, man. DB could probably roll down to Pierre Mobility and go get you a brand new
yeah.
KTM. You walk in there like he owns the joint. And if you can, have DB take you for a tour of that place. Whew, that
Yeah,
place is impressive. But yeah, the offer stands. If you want to come hang out for a day with us, man, we'd love to show you around and go hang out and meet the boys.
absolutely, man. Thank you very much, man. If you ever come to a Melbourne Supercross, man, you definitely look me up for that. I can I can help you out with that sort of stuff. We
I
got
want to go to Manjima. I want to go to that track. If they ever hold
Manjimup.
the nations there, yeah, I want to go down and check
Yeah,
that out.
yeah.
Yeah.
I've never been over that side of the country. It's like it's funny here, man. Like Western Australia, it's almost like it's a different country because it's a long way away, but there's also like there's nothing in between us, like
Yeah.
it's just like the Nullarbor Plain, man. It's just a big desert in between us, So it's a funny thing. It's not somewhere that you sort of go unless you've got an event to go to, like someone's getting married over there or whatever,
I
But
hope you don't break down in between because we've all seen those movies on Australia and
yeah, well,
crocodile. You better be Crocodile Dundee to survive down there.
yeah, you gotta. Yeah, if you break down in between there, you want to make sure you got lots of water and some canned food. And
Yeah, because
now,
everything out there is trying to eat you.
nowadays it's pretty good because the road gets travelled a lot. There's a lot of trucks and that sort of thing, so you get rescued. But yeah, the old days though, yeah, like people they'd literally have like the water bags and all that sort of stuff, like to
Well,
survival. Yeah.
bro, I got a jam, bro.
Hey, cool. So we just before I could say goodbye, we just lost Jeff. I think his phone might have gone flat because we were going for so long. But thank you very much for listening, and I hope Jeff enjoys the rest of his evening. Cheers.